Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. I am Rob, your host, and today I've got three guys joining me. One's making a return appearance. He's been here a couple of times. Glenn, how you doing, buddy?
Great, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, good to have you here. And then we have Dave and Joe who are joining for on the show for the first time. So how you guys doing?
Doing really well. Looking forward to this first podcast ever.
Are you nervous at all, you two? Let me give you a chance to say hello, Joe. I'll cut in there.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
That's it?
That's all.
It's not going to be that way the whole show, I hope.
No. I didn't mean to cut off Dave, though. That's why.
You guys aren't nervous at all. You feel like this is no big deal. Just going to talk a little bourbon right up your alley. Maybe we'll get into a little wine or whatever.
I listen to Robertson's podcast some, so I've kind of...
The Robertsons, we're talking about Duck Dynasty Robertson?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So I will listen to some of their stuff. So
Right. This is right up
I know
here.
what a podcast is. It's just like it is. It's sitting around and talking about stuff.
Shooting shit and just having a bourbon while we do it.
They don't drink bourbon. They talk about not drinking, but... so this is a little...
We're going to go 180 from there. Well, our show today, my last few shows have been wine, and we've done some restaurant reviews, so I thought it was about time we get back into some bourbon. And Glenn, you and I were talking, and you made the suggestion that maybe we taste through and talk about what we think about some wheated bourbons. And, you know, when you talk wheated bourbons, the one most people know right away is... Weller. So we picked out three that I have, which are the Weller 12, the 107, and the Foolproof. We thought it would be fun to taste through those first. And then we have two other wheated bourbons, which are...
We have Maker's Cast Strength, and we have Larceny Barrel Proof, the A120.
The A120. And then we thought what we would do is take those two along with the
Foolproof.
The Foolproof.
And just do side-by-sides with them.
Those are all kind of cast strength.
Yep.
And see how they compare, see what we think. Now, tell me, Dave, your bourbon experience. You got into bourbon. I mean, I think you were a wine guy first, then got kind of like me. I was a wine guy first, got into bourbon.
Yes, I was a big wine guy and all in. That's pretty much all I drank was wine for probably the last 20 years. And somebody suggested that I should try scotches because exhibit a lot of the same flavor profiles as you find in wine, and being able to pull out different flavors. And I tried a couple scotches and decided that definitely was not for me.
Okay.
The scotch, I just couldn't do the scotch.
I would bring a couple of bottles to the Deer Lease just to try.
Scotch?
Scotch.
Yeah.
We're just trying something different.
Yeah.
And
We were both kind of like...
yeah, the one glass that was poured was enough for me. So
Scotch is like a minefield. If you don't know where you're going
Right,
in
yeah.
it, you can go completely
Glenn,
wrong.
just so you know, is a big Scotch guy.
Yeah.
He's big into Scotch, and he's trying to help me navigate the minefield.
yeah. So then it kind of, Joseph would bring a bottle of bourbon to the Deer Lease, and so I figured, okay, I'll start trying these, and discovered that since not having it since college, the memories that I had from college kind of went away, and it enabled me to approach it again. And the second time through, found that I really enjoyed it. So, and that's been almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
So for the last couple of years, I've been all in with bourbon. So
Kind of pushed wine to the
yeah,
side.
wine took a back seat. I still love wine, but bourbon is in the driver's seat right now.
That's the baby right now.
Yep.
All right. Joe, you're kind of...
Well, I kind of started out was more of just a beer guy, but started hunting more and was just more like, Crown and a Coke or something.
Mixing. You were a mixer
Yeah, I
like me.
started off doing that, and then kind of one day I had a customer that kept talking about Pappy Van Winkle, and that is like the biggest, of course, the more original or big, hard to find wheated bourbon as well. But
Sure.
And while I was looking for that at this particular liquor store, the guy kept pointing more towards Blanton's. It was pretty easy to find back then. It was always on the
How
shelf.
long ago was that? Not to cut
About
you off.
6 or 7 years ago.
Okay. Just so people... 'cause I know people
Yeah.
listening today are going to go, when in the world was, Blanton's and all that just not that hard to find?
It's on the top shelf. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like $35 a bottle. And anyway, so I got lucky one November and got a bottle of 12-year Pappies, which I still have about 2 ounces left. I
Oh,
will
wow.
drink it on my birthday when it's running out. I might have to make one of those special blends that everybody talks about.
What do they call
Poor
it?
man's.
Poor man's
Poor
Pappy,
man's,
yeah.
whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And once I tasted that, that's when I started realizing the different tastes and kind of did away with the mixing. But then I got into tasting the Willers because it's a lot easier to find back then again, and that's kind of how it progressed.
Do you find that a lot of people like, I mean, I kind of see that a lot of people like the weeded bourbons when they get into it first because it's just a little bit sweeter.
I think it's more approachable for the general public,
Yeah.
especially coming from, I don't know, something like wine or
Beer.
some beer that's not
Or mixing.
overly bitter, or I think it just suits more people's palate initially, and it's just an easier acclimation into, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think just that profile, because the wheat profile, I think makes it a little sweeter, a little bit more
Yeah.
pleasing to the palate, if you want to say it that way. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
that
not
hard
spicy.
bite on it like you do with a rye whiskey or a high rye, bourbon.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of refer to that as, oh, that bourbon's really smooth, and I think that a weeder compared to a high rye mash bill bourbon, that's what's smooth.
Okay, I'm gonna play Wade Woodard. Tell me what smooth is.
and that's exactly what I'm referring to. In that when people say smooth, I think that it doesn't have the bite of a high rye mash bill. So
That's what I think.
so it's a little sweeter.
Doesn't
have
feel
the spice.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it chews up your esophagus when
Right.
it goes down.
Right.
To me, I describe it as you can swallow it, wait 2-3 seconds, and then you get the finish in your chest.
Correct.
Versus all the way down, you're going, boy, that was a struggle
Yeah.
to
Right.
give it.
Right, because the high rye mash bills tend to be spicy.
Yeah.
And definitely mid to back palate with the high rye. And
And I like a high rye.
same.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think have come to love. I didn't know a lot about it until recently, but the Four Roses. I mean,
Yes.
one's high rye and one's high rye.
Exactly.
So, but we're going to do weeded whiskey today. You want to dive into, Glenn, a little bit more on weeded whiskeys and what makes it a weeded whiskey? It's still a bourbon.
Yeah, still bourbon, still over 51% corn. So these are all bourbons. The only thing that differentiates this from a standard bourbon is the mash bill, where the second grain, the second highest component, is instead of rye, it's switched out for some flavor of wheat. Everything else is the same. All the stipulations of bourbon
Because
still.
typically a bourbon will have 3 grains in it.
Yes,
For the most
typically.
part, there are some 4 grain, but
Correct.
typically it's 3. Typically it's corn,
Yes.
then some rye, and then maybe some barley.
Right. Yeah. Usually barley is the lowest component as far as percentage goes of the mash bill.
Am I going to ask you a question that it's going to put you on the spot and tell me if, move on if you want to. But what does barley bring to it? When I think about wine, Dave,
Yep.
I think about when, a Bordeaux blend, it's going to be with Cab, it's going to be with Merlot, and then they're going to blend it, they're going to get something from a little bit of Petit Verdot and then, a little bit from Cab Franc for
Right.
some structure,
Backbone
some
and
silkiness.
structure,
Or
yes.
So
what does barley do?
Barley brings in an earthiness, sort of a farmhouse funky.
Okay.
Just think of Balcones single malts if you guys have had that. It's really, I think of it as earthy, malty. There's the sweetness is different
Okay.
that comes out of it.
So in a weeded bourbon, can they or do they sometimes put a rye? Or is it that the rye is taken out completely?
That would then become the four
Third.
grain.
Okay, it would be the 4th.
Yeah, generally you almost always have barley in.
Okay. That was my point
Yeah,
for the question.
I don't know of any that
So when you do a weeded bourbon, rye is pretty much out of the picture unless it's a 4 grain.
correct.
Okay. Very cool to know because I did not know that. So you were talking about, Glenn, when we talk about weeded bourbons, it's got to be at least 51% corn to be bourbon, but in this particular mash bill or in weeded mash bills, it's going to be a higher percentage of corn.
Correct. Generally, you're looking at up to probably 70% corn for most distillers. Then the rest of the 30% is usually split in some manner. It changes to every distillery, but generally the next grain is the higher of the two components. So maybe you're talking between 15 to 20, sometimes
Of wheat?
of wheat, and then the remainder is barley.
Okay. That makes sense. So it's still a pretty good amount of barley that's going to be in there.
Generally.
Okay. And that makes it a wheated bourbon.
Right, and the barley it helps with fermentation. Is a part of one of the main reasons why it's in there. Because corn doesn't have a lot of fermentables or easily broken down by yeast. What the malt does, the malted barley, is it helps break down those starches into sugars that are more easily available to the yeast.
Okay.
So you end up with a higher alcohol percentage in your in your wort,
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
and then it's ran through the usually the coffee still or a grain still.
It's interesting, even when you go back to. I've been watching a lot of Vikings lately.
Yeah. I love that show.
Man, it's a lot though.
Yeah.
When they drink their ale, if you look up what ale was back then, it's pretty much barley, wheat, and corn.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
So, but was it diluted a whole lot more, I'm guessing?
Yeah, well,
they didn't have the filtration either.
it wasn't distilled.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
you know, you take that, it's only 5 to 8% alcohol maybe.
Okay.
So
Okay.
take
That's
that.
why they drink big barrels of it, I guess, when you're watching the show. The large glasses and.
So it's just fermented like beer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. I got educated again. Thank you, Joe. I never even knew that that's, obviously I know beer is made from barley and oats, but I didn't realize that corn and wheat and was used back for the version of ale back then. Yeah.
Whatever grains they had available in that region they would typically make some sort of fermented beverage out of.
So when do you think that accident first happened, right? It was an accident,
That's a
right?
curious question.
Yes.
Because nobody thought, I wonder if I can get drunk off this.
Somebody
pretty-
forgot a barrel.
Pretty old. Probably 1200s.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about that.
I even read they would filter it through like juniper leaves and different leaves to try to give it a different taste.
A lot of that was you have different plants that have antimicrobial properties to them, so they would help keep it from spoiling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say that again. What kind of properties?
Antimicrobial.
Okay, yeah. Talk about that all day long.
We're learning vocabulary.
You with me, Dave?
I'm with you.
Yeah. Since you're with me, you go ahead and explain what that means to the audience.
It's called science.
I have no clue, but it sounds like it's an important process to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep your stuff from rotting.
What you're trying to do is keep as much of the bad yeasts or whatever bacteria from getting it, and you're trying to give your yeast that you actually want to ferment it a more of a fighting chance.
This is why I love having Glenn on with me, because I can always say, I know a smart guy,
That's right.
and he likes to drink. So we're warming up with, because we thought we would, we didn't want to come in just, with a dry palate. We thought we better have a little warm-up pour, so we all poured a little of the Elijah Craig 18, little 90 proof, just to kind of get the palate going. And we got 5 bourbons. Did we discuss the 5 bourbons we're doing today? I know we talked about the Weller, but did we talk about the other 2?
Yes.
We did, okay.
Yep.
So, and we talked about how we're going to do it, the 3 Wellers first.
We did not.
Okay, so we'll do the 3 Weller lines first, just to progress through that Weller line and see what we think about the different wheated bourbons that they're putting out. And then we'll kick the full proof over to the cask strength category with the Makers and the Larceny barrel proof, and just kind of compare those 3 and see what we think about those. And at the end of the day, we should all be drunk and call an Uber.
Fantastic.
What a good afternoon, huh?
Productive.
So, I'm finishing up this Elijah Craig 18, and then we can jump on to the Wellers.
And this is the first time I've had the Elijah Craig 18.
Same here.
It is?
It is.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that.
And I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about how you like it.
It's outstanding. And I like a heavy oak flavor and the astringent properties that
I do too. I'm an oak
bitterness
guy.
and the astringency that the extended aging gives it. And
But I don't think it's too much oak.
no, absolutely.
It's not like just an oak bomb.
No.
It's just for me, it's right where I like it. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
the oak's there, and it's predominant, but it's not overpowering. It's just not
Right.
smothering you with oak.
Right. And as Glenn and I were talking about a little earlier, with the Elijah Craig 18, is would like to see it a little higher proof than 90.
You know, I've always wondered, being an 18-year-old bourbon, and every batch always 90 proof.
Right.
Why do you? Is it a volume thing? Is that why that you think they do that? Just to get enough bottles out of it because it's been there 18 years, and if they don't dilute it down to 90, they're not going to get enough volume out of it.
I think so, because
Yes.
you're probably looking at maybe 25 to 30% left in the barrel at that age.
Lots of angel share gone.
So, I mean, I guess you pick your poison. You want less bottles with a much higher cost and difficulty of acquiring, or do you want to dilute it down like they do, and we all kind of have a pretty good chance of getting one?
Right.
I don't know. Pick your poison.
Somebody
right?
does. Rob has a pretty good chance of getting one.
Hey, but I share.
Yeah, and that's the important bit.
Absolutely.
Yes, very important.
Like Glenn had a question though on weeded bourbon. Do they really pay attention a lot to the barrels? I never really paid attention to that. Like, you know, because if single barrel, Blanton's has such a distinct way that they char their barrels. I mean, they go into so much detail about how they do barrels. I don't know if we did barrels.
Yeah, it's identical.
Identical?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically.
So-
every distiller has a char level they like to get to their end profile.
Well, this is
Yeah.
all Buffalo Trace with the Wellers.
Right.
So,
Yeah, but with makers, with
different, correct?
yeah, they're all the,
Let me ask you this: does it go by mash bill or does it go by product for the char level?
I believe it's by product.
Okay.
That
so the
they have a
Weller 12
profile.
could be a medium char, and the 107 could be a heavy
No,
char.
sorry. In that sense, they're identical.
To the mash
all the
bill.
chars are the same.
Okay.
Yeah, for a mash bill.
Okay. So all the Weller line has the same type of barrel, always new American oak.
Right.
the
Same
same
char
char.
level. Yes.
And then the mash bill number 2 that goes for the Buffalo Trace and the Hancocks and all that could have a different char on that whole line,
Correct.
but all the same.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But
I did not realize that.
Likely they're just. If it was me, it would be the same throughout the.
See, and I always thought the way, I know it's the same mash bill, and I thought one of the ways to distinguish them from each other was to change the char in the barrel to get a little bit different
See,
flavor
that's
profile.
What I thought too. That's why I was
Yeah.
asking. I don't know if they did something different.
And I think the change actually comes in where they're stored in the rick houses and the amount of age that is put on them.
Right.
That's where they
But-
get their differences.
But to that point, I love that we're having this conversation. Does that mean that, say, Blanton's is always put in the same warehouse, same part of the rick house every time?
I do know Blanton's is.
Blanton's is
and
always
then-
comes from warehouse age.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Elmer T. Lee's always in the same place.
That
And
I don't
then,
know.
and then we have Hancock, always,
Hancock Reserve,
and then we still have
Rock Hill Farm.
Rock Hill Farm. So, I mean, otherwise, I think they taste similar, but there's something going on because they're still different.
Correct, because it's the exact same distillate going into
Right.
the exact same barrels, just being stored in different warehouses at different levels of the warehouses and aged for different amounts of time. And that's where the variance is in the products.
Okay, so the aging also.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought they were all, well, I know Blanton's is 6 to 8 years, right?
Correct.
And then do you know the other lines of those?
Most
No,
of
we're
them
kind
are about the same.
6 to 8, all about 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
So what they'll do is, you'll take something that's more 8 years to get, say, the more oaky components, and then you take a younger one that might have more of the lighter fruits, some of these lighter flavors, and you blend them, and to get their consistent profile that they're looking
But they don't do that with Blanton's, right? Because it's a single barrel.
Correct. So with something that's a single barrel, it's typically, same area of the warehouse, same warehouse.
Same charm.
Same spot, same everything.
Yeah.
And then going to
Same
dilute it
age.
down to the same proof every time.
Correct.
So I've never really picked, like 3 different years of Blanton's and seen how different the flavor is. It can be different.
Yeah,
But yeah,
drastically.
You have.
well, just two.
We just did a blind tasting with the Blanton's and the Blanton's Gold.
Oh, you did?
We did. And
Okay.
To
that-
me, it was pretty distinct.
I thought what made it really distinct was the difference in proof, with the Blanton's being at 93 proof and the Blanton's Gold
101?
being around 101 to
Something like that.
103.
Yeah, something like that.
Somewhere in that range. And I thought the flavor, for me, I thought the flavor profile was almost identical
Really?
between the Blanton's and the Blanton's Gold. But you got a little more heat and a little more complexity with the Blanton's Gold because of the higher proof.
Right.
But you could definitely tell that it was the same mash bill.
That's interesting.
What did you think, Jess?
That was about the same.
I would like to.
But you said it much better, Dave.
I would like to do that again and then kick in a straight from the barrel.
Absolutely, because I did have straight from the barrel several months after that, and I wasn't doing it side by side that night, but I didn't think that the other two could even hold up to the straight from the barrel.
Oh, really?
I thought that straight from the barrel was far superior.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I've seen two other labels, a black label and a green, correct?
And a red.
There's a red.
And
Yeah.
There's
red.
a black and a red that are from
Black
Asia.
and the red that come from Japan, those are Japan releases only. And then there are several. The green label, that's the low proof, that's the 80 proof.
So they do still play with them, and I guess
Yes.
when they're pulling them out.
I've heard the green label, people who've gotten it, and if you guys have had it, tell me, I haven't,
No.
aren't fans of it.
Never had it.
Okay. And when I hear 80 proof, I'm going, if you water it down to 80 proof, you're losing so much character, so much structure to me,
And
in
for
my
me-
mind.
Absolutely. And for me, that anything that comes in at 80 proof is a beginner's introductory into the bourbon world.
Yeah.
And they're probably still mixing the 80 proof. So
Sure.
it's just a way for everybody to ease in to the bourbon line.
But if you can find that green label, is the problem.
Yeah. Let me ask you this about blends, and I know we're going to get back to Weller here in just a second, but we're still in Buffalo Trace, so I think
Right.
we're okay. Is Blanton single barrel? Are they all single barrels, or is it just the Blanton
Yeah.
single barrel that I'm, the traditional one here in the States, or is the ones released in Japan, are they all single barrels?
From what
too?
I understand, they're all single.
Okay.
barrels.
Okay. I did not realize that either. Love doing these shows where I can continue to learn.
Absolutely.
Has anybody been to the Buffalo Trace?
Yeah, I have.
I have not.
Not?
I was planning on going this year. You booked your trip for this year.
Yeah, I'm going again in October.
You think you are.
You can drive.
You and COVID have that conversation. Let me know how it goes. COVID sucks. Everybody agree?
Concur.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has just absolutely sucked
Yep.
for 2020. And when we started, March, when they did the lockdown, I was like, all right, a couple weeks. And then it was a month. I was like,
Correct.
this can't last that long. Here we are, first day of July. And I'm like, we are still dealing with this crap, man.
Yes.
It just absolutely sucks. But I do feel bad for all the restaurants and bars and everybody who's getting hit. And obviously all the people who are dealing with it with family members getting sick. I mean, it's just an awful thing. But hopefully we get over it here pretty soon.
Listening to your podcast, they can learn a lot about making different food too, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Get on and follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Join the Facebook group, Food, Wine, and Whiskey. And we do a lot of cooking and
Some
do a lot
recipes,
of recipes and things like that. I'm always happy to share. Absolutely.
When this started, I had a pretty good wood pile in the back by the barbecue pit. I had mesquite. I'd cut a bunch of pecan wood, and I even got some oak from my parents' house in San Marcos. And those piles are pretty low now.
Are they? Yeah. You know what's low for a lot of people? Bottles.
Yeah.
You sit in here with COVID for 3 months. I hear everybody talking about, boy, I'm drinking a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went from drinking 2 or 3 nights a week to
Right.
kind of drinking every night.
Yep.
There early on, Glenn, it was like a Zoom every other night. Let's get on and have a pour, Dave. You were on a few of those.
Let's do the bottled and bonds.
Yeah. That was always fun. All right, well, I think I'm ready to jump into these Wellers and start at the Weller 12, see what we
Yeah.
think.
Let's give it a shot.
Let me pop this. Hold on. There you go. Cheers. Anything on the nose? Well, obviously there's something on the nose.
Yeah.
What do you get on the nose?
Compared to the Elijah Craig 18, this smells like a Werther's candy.
Yeah, it does, huh?
It's burns Burns my
Get the
nose.
ethanol
Yeah, a
still.
lot more ethanol in
And
this.
it's been opened up for a few minutes. This is only 90 proof.
I know.
Yeah, and I don't get that. I'm drinking from a Glencairn, and Glenn's drinking from a Bourbon Trail.
I mean, I don't get a ton of alcohol in there.
Yeah, I was
Definitely
comparing it to
sweet.
Elijah Craig 18.
Oh,
And so it's, it's younger, but it's still 12
Definitely
years.
Sweet.
You know, definitely sweeter.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That Weller 12 never always. I swear there I saw like different labels years back. It wasn't the same black.
Yeah, they've changed the packaging.
Okay, because I remember the same thing with that. I'd see cases of it. No big deal.
I've heard that too. I mean, and I, for that matter, I've heard all the VTAC series that from Buffalo Trace. If you went back to the early 2000s, every year you just go to the store and pick up a bottle.
Right.
And
Back
So
in
get
the
it.
hot.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he got really hot till what, 4 or 5 years ago. I've been into it going on 3 years, and I think it was a couple years before I got into it. I went, there's something going on with bourbon. I may want to go check this out.
I guess that's what Weller 12 poor man's Pappy didn't make the cut. There's all kinds of.
They call Weller 12 poor man's.
That's-
I thought it had to be the
that's-
blend of 12 and 107.
That's
kinda.
when it first came out. That's what I always heard it when I'd go.
Oh.
It's more that it was the rejects that didn't make
Right.
it to
They didn't keep it to
like
go.
the Pappy line.
So that's kind of how it grew. I think is kind of built on that stigma, and so then everybody thought, oh well, I can't get Pappy Van Winkle. Let me get the closest to it.
Well, so tell me this, whoever knows the answer. So there's that Old Van Winkle 10-year, and Old Van Winkle 12-year. 10 years, 2 years younger than this. 12 years the same age as this. Same mash bill.
Yeah.
So the master distillers just tasting the barrel and saying this one's good enough to be this label, this one's going to be this label.
Or
Yeah,
maybe, maybe they don't think it's be good enough to make the 12-year too. I guess.
That's what I'm saying, the 10 or the 12. He tastes them at 10 and says leave it to 12, and if it changes, matures, whatever it does, and tastes it again at 12 and says, okay, you're going to be a Weller 12, you're going to be an Old Van Winkle 12. If something's really good at 10, I'm guessing he pulls it and says this is our 10 label.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how it works?
Yeah. They do periodic tastings.
Full of the honey barrels.
Yep. And
Now wine is kind of similar too, right? With based on the grapes. I'm not a big wine guy, but I know that they kind of look at everything and which one goes where and over time.
Yeah, so same kind of concept, but there's obviously a lot more blending in wine than there is in bourbon. A lot of times bourbon is just out of the barrel. Although I think there's a lot of blending in bourbon.
it's mostly blending versus single barrels.
Yeah,
Is
so
the
it's-
majority.
So yeah, it's the same where you're going to get barrels and get different characteristics and say, hey, if I put them together, same thing with grapes, but it's going to be a percentage of I want this much cab versus this much cab franc, and then with some petit verdot, and then just a couple drops of Malbec to get that profile I want. And it's funny because sometimes a certain varietal can be, to your point earlier about corn, it can be same rule in Cabernet Sauvignon, in California at least. If you want to call it Cabernet Sauvignon, it's got to be at least 75% of that grape. Then you can label it that way. But if it's like 65%, then you're mixing the rest with Cab Franc and Petit Verdot and Malbec. Now it's a
just
red
called
blend.
a red blend.
Yeah.
Correct.
So 75% of any grape. Same with Malbec. If you want to call it a Cab Franc, most of them are typically blended, and then you do get some 100% though. I guess you would call a single barrel where it's just a 100% cab, but I don't know that it's necessarily out of the same barrel. Sometimes they blend two different
it's
cabs
definitely-
as well.
Right, it's definitely blended because that's one of the big differences with wine is that they don't leave wine in the barrel for extended periods of
All the
time.
It's
Usually,
mostly in the bottle. Right?
usually it's 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere between 24 and 30 months is the max that they'll leave it in a barrel.
And then you put it in a bottle. But the thing about wine is, the difference, I guess is the way I would say it, Dave, and Joe, and Glenn, is that, whiskey, once it goes into the bottle, it's done. It is what it is. It's not going to change anymore. Where wine is different. You're getting it out of that vessel because you don't want that vessel to have any more,
Influence.
on what that juice is going to be. But once it's in the bottle, it's a living thing, man. It changes. It's going to get to a point over, depending on the type of wine and the quality of the wine, where it reaches its peak, and that's when, the best drinking time for that particular vintage of that wine. And then after that, it's going to start going down. So, you leave a wine too long, you miss an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing, pulling barrels with whiskey. Is it's reached that profile that they want.
Yeah.
They have whatever amount of barrels that have more tannins, more like mid palate sweetness, whatever profile they're trying to get. They get X amount of barrels of that profile, and then they blend it all together.
Right. So instead of grapes, it's just different barrels.
Correct.
Right.
And again, that's what got me interested in whiskey, because I started kind of looking at it going, this is very
A lot of
similar to wine.
similarities.
Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of similarities.
Now maybe a show down the line, you've seen these. I think it's wine put in whiskey barrels, or
Not a fan. I don't.
I see these every now and then. I saw the tequila put in the Buffalo Trace barrels too here recently. I've tried some of those, but it's interesting mixing those. Like
The only one I've tried, and I have friends that might not like wine as much as I like it, I think you like it, is the Robert Mondavi.
Yeah.
You like the wine in that bourbon
Finished it.
barrel.
My favorite is the rum barrel.
Oh, they have a rum
They have
barrel.
a Merlot
okay.
and a rum barrel.
Okay, I hadn't seen that
That's
one.
good.
I know they do a cab and a.
And they have a
bourbon.
rye.
Yeah.
They have one in a rye. I don't remember what
So
varietal.
I tried the bourbon barrel.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That's the only one I've tried, and I went, yeah, not for me.
Yeah, and I think that the wine industry has had to, especially the U.S. wine industry, has really had to modify their sales model, because bourbon has taken on such a. It is the spirit of choice.
You think so?
I think so.
Because wine is still huge.
It
I mean,
is,
yeah,
wine
it
is bigger than it's ever been.
But for the first time in 20 years, wine sales are actually on the decrease.
Well, but you got to remember, what we're talking about there is total dollars, not volume. Volume is up, dollars are down.
Okay, all right.
Because people went, you know what, I'm going to stop paying for really expensive bottles and start buying. And I'm one of those guys who kind of moved from California going, a good cab is anywhere between $55 and $200,
Right.
and go into old world where I can get, a $40 and buy 6 of them.
Yeah.
or some of these stores, you walk into the bigger liquor stores, like, there's wine selections are just
Oh yeah,
well, half the store.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of those stores was Longhorn Liquor. Giving him a plug. You're welcome, Mike.
But I think that it's interesting that the way the wine industry has changed and is doing bourbon barrel aging with their wines.
But remember, besides Robert Mondavi, name me another one who does that.
Well, I could go in Total Wine and show you several, but
Let me ask the question this way. Name me a producer that you and I would go, that's a nice producer that's doing that.
Never,
Yeah.
never.
To me, it's a gimmicky thing that
Absolutely
people
it
are
is.
trying
They're trying to
to
capitalize
yeah.
on the
that
popularity of
Yeah,
bourbon right now.
totally agree with that.
And that's why I brought it up, because I've noticed wine and now I've noticed tequila. Now it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
how they're
Yeah,
like
it's not, now it seems like all of the spirits are kind of hopping from bed to bed. Rum finished in bourbon casks.
there you go. That's another one. Yeah.
Even Scotch, I've seen some Scotches being finished in bourbon casks.
That's traditional.
That happens a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've
Forever.
as long as they could, they've always gotten
And
bourbon barrels.
guess which bourbon barrels they use the most.
Jack Daniels.
That's right.
Well, there's
So who says it's not a bourbon? Who says it's
But that's
not
just
a bourbon?
based on volume.
volume of bourbon?
Yeah,
Jack
that's just
Daniels.
volume.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to throw that out there because everybody
But that's
goes,
not
"It's not a bourbon.
That's right.
But Scotch says they're finishing it in a bourbon barrel. Well, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just fun. Okay, back to the Weller.
To the 12.
Yeah. Has your alcohol oh, your glass
I'm
is
done.
empty. Holy cow. And your
His alcohol
thoughts?
dissipated.
It's good. It's sweet, not overly complex. It's an easy drinker.
You still do get the alcohol.
You do. It drinks hotter than
At
90
the end, right?
to me,
It's different.
More, I see it. I feel it more a little at the end of the alcohol.
but I get it more on the nose
Yes.
when I'm smelling it.
But I would agree with Glenn that it is not complex. I wouldn't even say overly complex. It is not complex. It is sweet butterscotch candy with a little bit of ethanol.
To me, it's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not one that I'm going to be coveting. You know, I got to have this
No.
in my.
Nope.
Like I said,
If I have a bottle, fine. If I don't, I don't.
like I said, it's amazing compared to years ago. You can easily find.
But what also is amazing to me is we were just talking about this being the same, if you want to be, you know, same juice as what's in.
A Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'm going, how much different do those barrels have to be to get the other label? Because this doesn't, you know, as a bourbon guy for the last few years, this doesn't blow me away. We've been drinking some pretty good stuff the last couple of years. This
Right.
isn't.
Yeah, barrel to barrel variants, you know, you can get like probably 30%
Wow.
difference, and just, you know, exact same spot in the warehouse, exact same, you know, time frame as when it was produced, it can be drastically different.
But what brought on the whole Pappy Van Winkle craze? Because was it the 15 year that was voted the #1 bourbon?
What it was where it really got into the media was there was so many cases that were barrels that were missing, and so that really brought it to attention to the line, and then, you know, celebrities started drinking it, and it just exploded from there. And
Well, once
it's
it-
not that good to me.
Once it gets into the celebrities, then it's done.
But wasn't there and you guys tell me, but wasn't there a family part of the story too?
Yeah,
That the son or grandson, when Stillweller split and.
yeah. So when they became part of Buffalo
Buffalo Trace.
Trace, I think it's Julian Van Winkle.
Yes.
He, you know, he had all these old barrels, and decided to make a line
To do something in
to
honor.
do something. Well, I think he was just getting rid of the barrels.
Well, story has it.
Yeah, but to honor his grandfather,
Right.
and it put him on the label.
That's what I'd heard.
Yeah, but
I like your first answer that he just, oh shit, what do I do with these?
exactly, yeah, just trying to make money.
Yeah, I gotta sell them.
Yeah, that was the story I had heard. That
Yeah.
that's kind of how it came to be in different barrels, 15 years, and now it's something that they do. They put those barrels aside specifically for that.
Yeah.
There's barrels being aged that will hit that 15, and I'm guessing again, same juice. They took it at 15, good enough.
Right.
Label it 20, same thing. Okay. So I've always heard a consensus that the 15 year of people who've had it, I've never had it, the 15 year is better than the 20 or the 23. I've always heard that.
You just get into overly oaked
Right.
Okay.
bourbons, and
that's what I've tried the difference, and that's what shot. I mean, really,
I think that's
20
the,
year, 23. was
That's
the
what stood out to you?
yeah, that the 15 years, the sweet spot, somewhere between 10 and 15 years is in barrel is sweet spot for bourbon.
yeah,
Interesting. I do like this 12 though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
solid little bourbon.
Definitely.
And at a retail price, you can't beat it.
Absolutely.
retail.
There is nothing wrong with a Weller 12 at $40.
So while we're here talking about that, and Joe just made his little retail. People who are listening to that know there's a secondary market in bourbon, and it's a big thing right now. People who are listening that don't know just found out there's a secondary market in bourbon, and it's really popular right now. You guys have any opinions on that? You have any opinions whether it's okay to do that, not okay to do that? I have mine.
I've got mine, and I can understand both sides of the issue, that these secondary markets are driving up retail value for every bottle that used to be obtainable. But if somebody is willing to pay that price for that bottle of bourbon, we are in a free market. So it's
But you don't have a license.
that's the legal side of the argument.
That's a whole nother ballgame.
I just
Yeah, but you don't have a dealership license when you sell your car.
Exactly. That's
Right.
what I was gonna say.
Once you own it, to me, you own it.
and explain how some places can ship to other states. You know, there's all.
And that certain states will let you ship into their state, some won't.
Exactly.
You know, like
It's
Texas, you can't. You can't ship liquor. You can ship wine here.
right.
You can't even ship all wine. It has to come from a winery. So, like, there's a place in New Jersey that I'd love to order wine from. I can't because he's
Right.
a wine store.
Right.
He's not allowed to ship into Texas.
Correct.
It's a strange, like, cobwebs of.
God bless government.
Yes, but for me, I'm never going to pay secondary for a bottle. Personally, I mean, there are bottles that I definitely want, but if
Would
I
you
could,
trade?
I would definitely trade. But to go out and pay the asking price for Weller 12 on the secondary market, I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah. And Joe, your thoughts? You kind of in line with Dave?
I haven't really dabbled too much in the secondary market, but
I mean, just having an opinion on it. Not that you.
but my opinion is, I just think
I haven't dabbled too much with hookers, but I don't agree with that.
With human trafficking?
That either, but I don't agree with it.
Not a fan.
I have an opinion.
I just think if there's a certain bottle that you want, if you want to be able to go and buy it, and you have the money to buy it, I think you should be able to go get it.
Absolutely.
You know? And whatever, everybody's, $100 to me might be a different $100 to you. So before like I said, it was easy to get like a Weller 12. Now, it's.
And I saw a good argument the other day about the secondary market, that there are liquor stores in town that have loyalty programs.
Yep.
That when you break it down, the loyalty program, you are going to be spending upwards of $2,000 at a store to enable you to buy one of these highly allocated bottles at retail.
Yep.
So not only are you spending the $2,000 in the store, but you are also going to be paying.
So let's expand on that. Let's say you want a George T. Stagg.
Correct.
You had to spend $2,000 plus $150 out the door.
Right.
So you spent $2,150 for one George T. Stagg.
Correct. And
If on secondary I just wanted to take that money and buy 4 George T. Stagg, I'd still be ahead $300.
you would be ahead.
That's what I'm saying.
That is correct.
What's your budget?
Correct. So I can see, like I said, I can see both sides of the argument.
You have an opinion?
A rising tide raises all the ships.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, more people into bourbon is a great thing.
Yep.
For distillers, for resellers, for consumers. But the part I don't like about it is people are just going and hoarding or going and just getting as much as they can to just turn around and sell it. Which
Here, go ahead.
which I totally understand, but if it just sucks whenever it's your, this is my daily and now I can't find it anymore.
Well, and we get mad about that, let's be honest, because we go, that jerk, if I'd have got that bottle, I'd have drank it and shared it with my friends.
Absolutely.
And he's just turning it to make a nickel.
Right.
Here's my opinion on it. To me, there's 2 kinds of liquor stores. There's the ones that sell stuff at retail, whether they keep it behind the shelf and they keep it for their good customers, or they just put it out, and if you get lucky, you go in, you still get it at retail, they sell it at retail.
Right.
Then there's those liquor stores that sell it at secondary, in their store. And I'm fine with that. That's their right to do that, because I've found out in talking to liquor store owners that they have to buy a lot of crap to be able to get a good bottle of something. So if they feel like that's the way, there's a buyer for that, and that's the way they can recoup some of that money they spent to get the other stuff,
That's
because it's
not
going to sit on
moving
their
off the
floor.
shelf.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. I'm okay with that. And I think there's those same kind of buyers.
Yep.
I kind of give the analogy of, me being I'm a big sports fan. I grew up playing all the sports. I equate it to baseball cards. Today, it's the baseball
For me, it's
cards
like-
at Bourbon.
It's like rifles, special guns.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. For
But
me.
baseball cards, we used to go to the store and you would buy, whatever packs, and hoping you would find one in there, and it would be you didn't care about everybody else. You wanted that one. Same thing. I go in the liquor store. I'm looking at the bourbon. Well, I don't care about all the bourbon. Do you have a good one for me? It's like the pack of every liquor store I stop in when I'm hunting is like a pack of baseball cards, right? I'm looking to find something good in that pack.
Right.
And then these liquor stores that sell it at secondary, to me, are the card shops in the mall. You used to go and they already had the ones you were looking for, and they were already, dang, he got the Ken Griffey rookie, and he's already selling it for $200 if I want to buy it,
So what you've taken out is the hunt.
Yeah.
Which is part of the fun for me.
It is part of the fun until you start looking at your pocketbook.
True.
Same back in the day when you'd buy boxes. I'd go and he'd go, give me 2 boxes of tops, and then go home and try to, and go, I just wasted $100, and I didn't get one good card,
Exactly.
Same thing. At the end of the year, I spend all this money and going, I hope that guy gives me a good bottle from the liquor store I always shop at, and you go, crap, I didn't get anything. I spent all that money.
Right. But like Glenn said, the rising tide raises all ships. A year and a half ago, I could find, when I could find it, the Weller Antique 107, which we're moving on to now, for $23 retail. 18 months later, MSRP retail on a bottle of Weller Antique 107 is now $54.
Yeah, I see it between 49 and 55.
Yep.
I remember about 34. I'd always find it a year and a half ago.
Yep.
But remember back then it was a screw top. Now you get a cork, Dave. Come on.
All right, that's $18.
You got a cork.
I got it.
All right.
Welcome to America, supply and demand.
Tell me that every time you do, that doesn't $18 worth it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna get another pour. $18, no problem. I'll pay it all day long. Listen to that.
Absolutely.
You can't get that with a screw top. Let's be honest.
Yep. It's like
Well, money spent, right?
just
Well
like
spent.
California wines trying to go to screw tops, and
Yeah.
and the amount of pushback that people get because it cheapens it
In their mind.
in their
Yeah.
mind. Correct.
So the whiskey world did the opposite and said, we're going to make it better
We're gonna-
with the cork.
Make it fancy.
$18.
Yep.
Crazy stuff. All right, we're moving on to 107.
All right.
Now, the Weller 12 was just off the shelf, but these two, the 107 and the Foolproof, are both store picks. So, Glenn, I'll let you kind of explain to everybody what would make it different. Why, when we say store pick, we get a little bit more excited.
So a store pick will be a single barrel. So you have that variability. A lot of times distillers will pick out store picks that would be available for store picks because they're a little bit of an outlier. They're not exactly the profile they want. So you can get something that's, just pretty close, but different enough where they're like, yeah, this isn't going to jive with our blend.
Right.
And so they'll offer it up as a store pick. And sometimes they're amazing. Sometimes they're kind of, it's pretty similar to just the regular lineup. So there's some variability in that. And it's fun trying all these different picks.
Right.
To me. And being a part of picks is also a neat experience.
I think that's the most fun when you get that opportunity to be, whether it's just a group that you belong to or a store that's going to get a barrel and asks you to be one of the guys to taste through a few barrels. It's always fun to do that.
Yes.
Everybody here done a pick, a barrel pick?
I have never been part of a actual pick.
You haven't, Joe?
Me neither.
Oh man, we're going to have to change that then.
Yep.
That would be fun. You have, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
We haven't done one together.
No, I've done a couple with KBM.
Okay. 107, you guys like it?
Yes.
It definitely has a lot of the same similarities on the nose as the 12, but there's
A lot more characteristic to this.
More, yes.
It's not as sweet,
Yeah.
which is,
I was about to
It's got a little
say,
more bite on it, doesn't
well,
it?
it's got a little more ethanol bite,
Yep.
but it's more complex. It's not just a single note sweetness.
Right.
I don't know why with 107 I'm always tasting apricot, and I don't eat a lot of apricots, so I don't know why it always stands out for me.
Really?
That's just me.
That's just the way our brains work. You have
guess.
that memory of a flavor. And David, you were saying earlier, you don't, tasting bourbons, you have to have that flavor memory in your head
Right.
to be able to associate.
Pull it out of the
Because otherwise, if you don't have those experiences, you're just,
right.
this is good. I like it. I don't
Because I
like
see
it.
a lot of people
Or smooth.
talk about it has tobacco.
Smooth.
Yeah.
It has tobacco notes and
Leather.
right.
Yeah.
Never been around tobacco. So
Yeah. Or licked a lot of leather.
right. Or
Yeah.
old saddle leather.
Right.
So,
But I also find that sometimes I can't figure out, I'm getting something out and somebody will say it and you go, that's what it is.
right.
You know,
Which we've talked about that with the George Dickel Bottle and Bond
which we get.
Flintstone vitamins.
Yes, thank you, Wade Woodard. I didn't realize that's what I was
I
getting
was gonna
until
say
Wade told me.
charcoal.
Yeah.
That's me.
You don't like it, huh? Oh man, one of my favorites. You a fan of Dickel?
No, I
You're not.
can't stand it.
Yeah. And
Not everybody can have a good palate.
It's the Tennessee part.
Dave, me and you, buddy.
yeah.
Maybe it's the wine guys, they've
Yeah.
been-
No.
With a better palate?
I am no fan of the George Dickel Bottle and Bond.
Oh, you're not?
No. You're on your own, Rob.
Oh. Well, there's one out of four. 25% good palate.
That's right. Yeah, that's like the first time I had Willet pot still. When I was new into bourbon, somebody suggested, man, you've really got to get the Willet pot still. And
Did
then
you bring that bottle to the Deerlings?
I did. And
I
then
remember that.
one time somebody brought up an analogy, and I said, that's absolutely it. And they said, Willet pot still is like licking the inside of a trash can.
Really?
And I said, well, I've never licked the inside of a trash can, but that fits it.
It's a funky adventure.
Yes.
I've never had it, only because I don't know anybody who's ever owned a bottle, and everybody else has told me never to buy a
I'll
bottle.
get you a sample.
You have it?
Yeah, I like it.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I take it for not a bourbon.
Oh,
It's its own thing.
Look, I'm not gonna. I don't drink anything saying it needs to be like this or like
No.
Same with wines.
No.
They all
Yeah.
stand on their own. It just needs to be something I like and
But
enjoy.
you know what you like and
Yeah.
what fits your palate.
I like the Willet 4-year rye. I know you don't. I do because it is funky and different, and that makes me go, this is unique, and I like it on my palate.
And
It's pleasing to me.
And it's the same
Really
thing, but a bourbon.
So I'd be open to trying it.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to spend the $55 to buy one when everybody tells me it sucks.
it's a cool
I'll bring
bottle. It's a cool bottle.
Yep, to turn into an
Yeah.
infinity bottle.
That's a tight pour down there.
You gotta have a
Gotta have a funnel.
That's right.
Tools.
I was waiting for an opportunity, Glenn.
Yeah. I couldn't think of anything.
All right, 107, definitely like it better than the
For sure.
12. So if you see a 12 and a 7 on the shelf, you're only allowed to buy one. The
5
7.
and 12, so I can go in and get the 107.
There you go. I am a bigger fan of the 107. I have been for a while.
Yes.
I think it's just a natural progression that as you drink bourbon and your palate kind of gets accustomed to bourbon and drinking it on a more regular basis, your palate develops, just like wine.
Yes.
But by develops in bourbon, I think you can tolerate the higher proofs, and then you start to appreciate the flavors that are in those higher proofs. 'Cause I heard a guy say it the other day, and I agree with him. May have been one of you guys here, that he believes higher proof bourbons actually have more flavor in them to kind of get out of it. Where I think people who aren't as experienced in bourbon right away think, all that proof, it's going to be so much alcohol, I'm not going to taste anything, which to me is really not true.
Yeah, you have to accustom your tongue
Yes.
to get past that burn, that ethanol, and then you can start getting into nuances and stuff. And it's the same with Scotch and peat.
Serrano,
if you get-
Serrano peppers.
Yeah,
That's what's tamed my palate, I think.
Really? The other thing I would say about tasting, and it's why I like wine and bourbon whiskey, is when you taste wine, it's not just pour it in and drink it, right? It's to let it sit in your mouth and get those flavors and then drink it, and you get that finish. And to me, whiskey's the same way. I see people now that they want to get into bourbon, and they'll come over and I'll pour them a little bit, and they want to shoot it. And I'm like,
And they said, no,
Dude,
that was
from
back
the
in
Westerns.
college.
That's the Westerns, though, too, right?
Westerns
Think
in
of every
college,
Western-
yeah.
Western, man.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood goes,
Give me a whiskey.
Give me a whiskey. Boom, there it goes,
Yeah.
right?
But that's not the right way to drink it. Right?
No,
I
because
mean,
somebody that's unaccustomed to drinking it, they think, okay, he just poured me a shot. I'm supposed to shoot it.
Yeah.
And
and I'm gonna shoot it in this fancy glass.
Yeah.
How the hell do I do that?
yeah.
yeah.
Where's your shot glasses?
Yeah.
If you get it, and that's the other thing that I like is that there's different glasses for whiskey. There's certain things, certain types of whiskey, certain proofs that do better as far as nosing, as far as tasting out of, specifically nosing. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
For whiskeys, same as wines.
Yep.
Whether you're drinking a Pinot Noir or a Cab or a
Right.
GSM from Rhone Valley. Yeah.
Yep.
So 107 I like. It's the one I like a lot.
Agreed.
And I think it's why the poor man's Pappy, which is 60-40 Weller 12 Antique 107, you're getting, so out of the Weller 12, it's more oaky and a sweetness, where this isn't as sweet, the Antique isn't as sweet, it's not as oaky.
Yeah.
So you're getting these other characters into it that, by themselves you don't, it's not there.
Right.
This is my engineer brain kicking in. Curious, if you mix a 107 and a Weller 12, what's the proof?
It's less than 100,
Yes.
but it depends on the ratio
It's
that you
not-
blend it at.
As I say, is it based on the ratio?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite a bit different. I think when Brian did his multiple times, he was close to 100 proof.
I think you're at like 95 or
95, I think
97.
is what it was. I think you're right, 95. Where, the 10-year is still at 107.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so, having never had any of the true Pappy, the 15, 20, or 23 year, what proof is, say, the 15-year Pappy Van Winkle?
I thought it was 107 as well. But let's look it up.
Yeah, it's just best to look it up, but I think they dropped to 90 proof.
I'm about
Did
to
they
say,
really?
I think it was lower.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I was going to say, if you're
looking at it.
the ratio of the
And you have your like lot B and the 10-year. I want to say those are higher proof,
Okay.
and then like they drop after that. But I've stopped chasing Pappy.
Right.
I just don't care.
Right.
So, so it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, that's what.
Definitely, my bottle was the one and done.
Right.
If I, like I said,
I tried it just to try it, and then
I mean, if I happened across one, I would get it, but I'm not going to look for it.
no. I'd have any antique collection any day over any of the Pappies.
okay.
George C. Stagg, William LaRue,
Thomas Handy.
Handy. Yeah, I'd have any of those.
Yep.
I'm a big rye guy, and that's on my list is the handy to
Handy.
get. Yeah, I had a pour of that at a bar, and
I had a pour for the first time recently and was extremely surprised just how delicious it was.
I can't. I'm
And
not,
if you get one that's been opened up for a little while,
It,
oh, it's so good.
yeah, it was probably 2/3 gone. I just happened into a bottle share at a liquor store and was buying a couple bottles, and they asked me if I'd like a taste, and yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
needless to say.
Did you find it?
it didn't give on the particular site I was on. It had it all listed, but it wouldn't give me the proof. So I'm going to go to Buffalo Trace and see what they got here.
So are we?
I'm taking a drink of water while I.
Yeah. So are we going to go straight into the full proof, or are we gonna
I left
I
a
think so.
little 107 just to do a side by side.
side by side?
I'm going to go to the full proof because I want to
Yeah.
compare it to the other Weller,
Okay.
and then we'll taste a little more when we go against the.
The barrel cast drink.
And I know this is a single barrel cast strength Weller full proof, but it's such a low proof when I think
Right.
about it. But it's not as low as that
That's
that
the-
Makers.
Yeah, true, but you got to think of the entry proof, like what they go
It's a
into
lot
the
lower.
barrel at.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go in at lower proofs than, say, like
Typical is 125,
that's maximum is 125.
but
You
don't
can't- you
most
can't-
do
most-
it at 125, and then they proof it down.
No,
No.
not all.
Okay.
So like Wild Turkey is, I think 117, 118 somewhere in there. There's
I knew Wild Turkey was always lower.
yeah, like, and I'm pretty sure Makers goes in maybe right over 110.
Okay.
Like, so as you go in at a lower proof, you get different compounds out of the wood than you would if you go in at a higher proof. So as you go in at lower entry proof, you'll get more vanillas, tannin, or not tannins, vanillins is what I meant to say. Caramels, brown sugar, some of the lighter compounds, your fruits, cherry. As you go in at a higher proof, you extract more of the wood. So you get more your wood, your leather, tobacco, those sorts of notes. But I think I'm fairly certain with the weeded line at Buffalo Trace, they go in at a lower proof. And then they just rely on the rick house itself to bump up the proof.
So another thing on the antique 107 that we just had, a lot of the store picks are non-chill filtered.
Right.
Now, is the general release non-chill filtered, or is
No, it's chill filtered.
it is chill?
Yeah, everything is chill filtered, except for store picks
picks.
that specifically state non-chill filtered.
Did you find it?
I did find it
It's 107, right?
for the 15 year. That's what I thought too.
Correct.
The 20 year is 90.4.
Right.
Wow.
The 23 is 95.6.
Huh.
So, yeah, the 15 years
So another
107.
reason
Yeah.
why the 15 year is in people's sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's got a little more complexity in with the proof.
Yep, that would be more
That
up
just
my
not
alley.
overly oaked.
All right, so
Have you guys nosed the foolproof
I
yet?
have not
Yeah.
yet. I was.
Coming up.
What'd you say?
Coming up.
That's what she said.
And what proof was this one coming in?
114.
Yeah,
Yeah,
114.
114. I think this one is. I don't get the ethanol on the nose like I did on the 12.
Not as much. Yeah.
And you're going, from 114 down to 90 on that 12. It shows you how, I call it structure, being sophisticated. Is that a way? I mean, I'm trying to, what's the adjective you use to describe something that just seems more, more classy,
I don't know. I think
It's
it.
just, she's put
Sometimes-
together well.
Yeah.
Seems the edges seem a lot
It's
more
rounded.
That's what
Yeah.
she said.
Yeah.
And
I'll stop that.
No, you won't.
Interestingly enough, it's not unpleasant, but I get a nail polish remover
Yeah.
smell
Actually.
from this.
You know?
And it's kind of floral, so it's not the ethanol portion of the nail polish.
Maybe it's lavender.
Maybe.
You're right. There is that there.
I get chocolate covered strawberries.
Strawberries.
Strawberries?
I would think more of a cherry.
So it's
Yeah.
that lighter,
Citrusy to me.
the lighter compounds from the strawberry is what I get.
If I'm going to be honest with you, on the nose, I still think the 107, the
Yeah.
Antique 107 is my favorite.
I agree. I think it's very similar, but like Glenn and I said, it's just seems more rounded and smooth. Doesn't
Yeah.
have the sharp notes that the 107 has.
Now, how long has Foolproof been out? How many years?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's been aged how long? 7?
It's not age stated, so it's
6 to 8 years.
6 to
years,
8,
just
yeah,
their
so-
standard.
What's the new one Weller's releasing coming out pretty soon? It was-
Single barrel.
That's what I
Single
thought it
barrel.
was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But isn't
And
that
they-
Blanton's?
No, it's weeded.
Yeah.
It's weed.
Oh, it's a weeded single barrel.
Well, it's Weller.
That's what-
So
oh,
their
okay.
their entire line's weeded.
Just like
Yeah.
the Weller 12 years, Joe. Come on.
Oh, my bad.
That was me earlier,
Yeah. And
said Dave.
and then they just released the kosher Buffalo Trace.
What?
Yeah, but that's not a.
It's
A rabbi blessed it?
Yes.
Really?
So they got all their grain was certified organic
Really?
and kosher
Kosher.
certified,
Mm-hmm.
all that.
Yep.
Well,
And
there must be a market for it because you don't spend that kind of money to do something like that to
Right.
produce it if it's in a market.
the
is.
other thing is they have to break down their entire system and clean it
Oh, I bet.
to
Yeah.
kosher standards.
Is this a
before they-
one-time deal or do them for a special occasion, or is this a
I
new
think
line?
it's a
that's
new
gonna-
line.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
So I'm going to guess once they designate that equipment, that's going to be the equipment.
Right.
It's not going to go back to the regular.
I would think
Yeah. So in the market, I know only of one beer, maybe two, that is certified kosher, and I don't know a single whiskey other than the Buffalo Trace that is the same.
And,
Oh,
there-
wow.
and same thing with wine. There are very few wines that are certified kosher.
And the CYOB?
CPB.
CY
What is it?
Create your
The
perfect-
YMCA?
Create your perfect bourbon.
CYPB.
Have y'all tried that one?
Yes, I have.
I have not.
No.
I've not.
So here's the deal on that one. $42 retail, typically 40 to 50. 500 to 600 secondary.
It fetches the highest secondary of any of the Weller products.
Yeah, it's more than George T. Stagg. It's
Yeah.
more than Handy.
And it is a $42 retail bottle of bourbon.
And it ain't that good.
And that's what I have yet to try it, so I'll hold out.
If
But
I
that's
found
what
one
I've
on a
heard.
shelf, I would trade it for a George T. Stagg all day long.
Absolutely. I would
Or a
definitely
Handy or
buy
whatever.
it, but I would not be drinking it.
So,
Each Taylor barrel proof.
E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof is one I
That-
really
that
want to get
is-
my hands on.
Yes, that is on
That is my unicorn.
must find.
So I'm hoping at Longhorn Liquor I can get lucky and find one hiding around the store somewhere. He does that sometimes.
Well,
Is that another plug?
I'm going to be walking in front of you, Rob. So
All I know is he said I can have access at 7:30.
Hey, there's some trade right there.
That's right.
It's like those baseball cards, right?
yeah.
How long do you think that line's going to be?
I don't know. Haven't
So
even thought
just
about
so-
what time I'm getting there.
Just so everybody knows that's not from, we're in the Houston area. There is a gentleman named Mike Williams and his dad Dennis who own a chain of liquor stores, really nice liquor stores. I mean, these are, most people think liquor store, you're going to walk into this guy smoking behind the counter and doesn't look so good. And,
Bars on the windows.
yeah, all kinds of Hennessy for sale and whatever.
Yeah.
And, tequila and vodka, and that's the big, and I think most liquor stores, that's the big seller. But anyway, but this is again, I call it you walk in, and if you've been into a Bevmo or a Specs or a Total Wine, not to that scale as far as size, but it's that type of store. It's clean. It's
Absolutely.
got nice, artwork and design. It's got great areas for, a wine room and things like that with great wines in there. It's got a big walk-in humidor with your fine cigars and all kinds of good bourbons and gins and armagnacs and cognacs. And I mean, it's just a really cool liquor store. And I'm excited that we finally get one in Katy because he does some really cool giveaways and some cool things.
His store picks are
His
almost
store
always
picks
good.
are
Yeah.
always good.
Um,
It's just always so far to go get one. You got to
Yes.
drive 2
Beaumont.
hours to get in line.
Yep.
They do a really nice charity events.
Yes.
Whenever all
For
the
Christmas and-
yeah, for Christmas.
Yeah.
When all the antique collections and all that stuff comes out.
So it's great that he's coming to Katy. He's in Katy. They're open. But it's going to be fun to see his grand opening. He's open now, but, he's doing all his kind of special activities on Saturday.
Oh,
And
I thought it was Thursday, Rob.
well, the ribbon cutting is Thursday as far as the grand opening, but I don't think you're going to see, well, who knows? This is Mike Williams, right? There might be something on the shelf on Thursday for somebody to get lucky. But I think Saturday's the big day where people will line up, and I know he's working with Essentials Chef Martinez. And
He's doing a roasted pig, right?
he's doing a seafood stuffed roasted pig,
Oh.
about a 60-pound pig, and then a bunch of big pans of paella,
Paella.
and then some whatever finger foods and appetizers and whatever. So should be a fun day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Same here.
I'm hoping to get an E.H. Taylor.
I'm
barrel
hoping
proof.
to get lucky.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Door opens, you walk through. All right.
So how do you guys think this compares to 107?
I'm still a fan of the 107, to be honest with you.
I agree. I think the 114 is just a tad high, and it drinks that way more so than the 107 at 107. But
And the 107 I have open now isn't my best or favorite 107 I've had, but I still
Right.
like it better than,
agreed.
believe it or not.
Yeah, that one definitely
Now,
has.
this is a store pick, though.
This is
They
Liquor
both
Hut.
are, yeah.
Yeah, it's from Liquor Hut.
But the full proof definitely has more ethanol burn.
Not a whole lot more.
There's significantly more, but not. Yeah, it's not
To
blowing
me,
you out
it's
of the
not
water.
huge, noticeably
it's
on my
not-
palate.
No, it's not lighting you up like an Elijah Craig barrel proof at 136.
Right, right.
But
Now, I did one time, we had a store, I had a store pick of Buffalo Trace, and just a regular Buffalo Trace. And me and a neighbor tried to see if there's a difference. I hate to be cliche. It did the barrel pick did, and it was blind.
Yeah.
The barrel pick did taste a little smoother, but that's what we noticed.
Yeah.
That's Buffalo Trace.
Well, what do you say we,
Yeah. I
so
think we
conclusion
break
here out of
into
the
others.
Wellers, is
107.
107's our favorite.
agreed.
Yeah. I mean, Weller Full Proof is definitely a little harder to find, but
But the foolproof, it fits my palate.
Yeah, I'll still be looking to.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I'll still
And it's a
be
fun
looking-
bottle to have in the bar.
Yeah, I'll still be looking to acquire a bottle of Weller Full Proof.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
but I would agree that the 107, I mean, it's tried and true and been out for a long time, and they've pretty much perfected that.
I would agree with that. Well, what do you say we take a little break, go fill up our glasses with the 3 cask strength and come right back and see what we think about those.
Let's
It
do
was
it.
great.
All right, glasses are refilled with two more, one of the same, and we are back to talk about. Len, tell us what we're tasting here. We're going to go through what.
So now we've moved on to the cast strength.
So
Readers.
for people who don't know, tell them they go. What is
Cast strength or barrel proof.
Same thing.
There's many monikers, but it's the same thing.
So, and what that means is,
It's generally the proof that the barrel actually was at. So
But-
after it, there's an entry proof, which is when it comes off the still and into the barrel, that's entry proof, which varies from every manufacturer or every distillery.
or end product maybe.
Yeah. And even within their own lineup,
Right.
they'll vary entry proof to what they're trying to get in the end product. But so entry proof will vary, and then over the course of however many years they age it, where they age it in the warehouse, if it's lower, generally it will lose proof. If it's higher in the warehouse, it will gain proof, because it just depends on if you're evaporating water or if you're evaporating ethanol.
And one of the ways to say it, so listeners can kind of have an idea, we talked about single barrel Lantons or whatever it might be. Single barrel is that one barrel,
Right.
but they can dilute it down and get it to a profile or flavor that they want.
Right.
Maybe also build volume for bottles, whatever. Barrel proof is also a single barrel, but you can't dilute it all. The proof that it comes out, I mean, it can go in lower, but whatever it comes out at, whatever it is what it is, and that's what gets bottled.
So we have that with the Weller Full Proof. It is a single barrel at barrel strength. The other two that we have, the Makers and the Larceny, are small batch.
Well, they are small batch.
So they're barrel proof. So they vat all the barrels that they're going to put into this blend into a mixing tank, allow that to marry, become happy, and they get the proof. Whatever that proof is, that's the proof.
Okay, I haven't had these two, but it's the same process as the Elijah Craig's
Correct.
when they do theirs.
Yeah, exactly the
Okay.
same.
Okay, I didn't realize that they were still getting mixed. So the only one that's actually a single barrel is the Weller.
Right. And
Okay.
that is only because it's a store pick.
Okay,
If it's the standard full proof, then
it's blended.
it's a blend.
It is. Okay, I did not realize that. So we're jumping. I'm not starting with the Weller. I put that in
Yeah.
the middle because of proof. So we're going to start with
Let's
the
start with
Makers.
Makers.
And this is proofed at 110.
Yes.
Point.
3
One?
or 4, something like
110.05.
05. Okay.
110.5.
05.
05.
They're going extra
Very
accurate.
precise.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I don't know that I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. Usually you don't.
Round up, right? 110.1.
Yeah. TTB allows you to do that.
Yeah. So this is Makers.
Yep.
Yep.
You drink a lot of this, guys?
This is going to be my first sip ever
Of a Makers product or this particular one?
of a Maker's product.
Never
Okay.
had an old fashioned with Makers.
Nope.
I've had the regular Makers, not in an old fashioned, but in a Coke, mixing it, you know.
It's an old mixer.
Yeah. As far as having it, you know, neat in a glass like this, the
Private Select.
Yeah, the Private Select,
Yeah.
the pick from Brian's Taters, Daryl Bowman, and those guys, and it's fantastic. So, be happy to share that later. But I've never had.
So this is their standard lineup. So their
Wow.
normal Maker's Mark, but at cast strength. That
Actually-
the Private Select is the 46
right with the different
with,
staves.
correct, with different staves at their barrel proof.
right.
I was actually a little shocked, I guess, because I wasn't expecting that taste.
What? Tell us what you got.
The nose, I love this nose on
Yeah.
this.
And I have never, it's kind of a stigma because Makers was always, when I got into bourbon, everybody talked about Makers as a mixer. And it's always on the shelf, so it was never really a sought after bottle for me. So I've walked past it hundreds of times. And so drinking this cask strength for the first time, I think I've got the same reaction as Joseph, that wow, this is
Wow, in a good way?
in a good
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
Yes, I expected overly sweet, just overly everything.
To me, of all the weed we've had today, this is the least sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
So
like
far.
a more of a not a citrusy pear, but it kind of I don't know. That's what stuck out for me, and then it just
Yeah,
kind
but
of
I-
smoothed down.
But I expected overly sweet and didn't get it.
The other ones had more of that kind of full-bodied in my mouth too. This is not that.
I think when
It's a
you
little
mix things-
shorter on
It's
the
a little
palate.
shorter.
Like
Yeah,
it
that's what I was
stops
trying to
about
say.
mid palate,
Yeah.
and it just dries.
That's what I was trying to say. It's like hits you quick, and then it just kind of stays right at the end there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you mix this with Coke over the years, you expect it like a sweeter, right?
Right.
That's me, I guess.
And that's the difference between you drop it to 90 proof
Yeah.
versus this at
110.
110.
Yep.
So I'm assuming Maker's 46 is 92 proof. It's 46% alcohol. Is that the 46? What's the 46 designate?
I
Not sure.
the 46 was the 46 recipe that they tried.
Yes.
Oh, that's what it
Because
was.
I want to say that Maker's
okay.
46 is around 100.
Okay. Never had it.
I'm not certain, but I think I've seen on the bottle that it's.
Yeah, I think it's about that.
So it's a 46 recipe to try to make that.
Yeah, so I'm a Maker's Mark ambassador.
Oh, you
like,
are?
Like a
Brand ambassador.
the brand. Well, I don't get paid or anything. You know,
Yeah.
I had my name on a barrel.
You've done enough to.
and I got my golden ticket, and I went to Kentucky and got my barrel or my bottles, but I had a real long chat with Bill Samuels,
Okay.
and yeah, so the 46 was their 46th iteration of trying different staves and stuff with the secondary maturation that they go through, and so that's just what it is.
So when I think about Private Select and the different staves that are on there, the Mocha and the French, and the 46, it starts with the 46 as the caps, and then you change the staves. You get 10 staves within that barrel.
You add staves.
Yeah,
So
10
you
to
drop
the-
staves into the barrel.
The barrel's all 46?
So the barrel is just their standard barrel. Like, there's nothing different about that. The staves.
Oh, okay.
So then they drop in. So the 46 staves, which are it's a certain toast level. Then you have your French mocha, your
Cuvée.
cuvee, yeah. All the other ones.
Yeah.
You can then substitute some of the. So the standard 46 was all those 46 staves,
Okay.
right? And then the private select, you can change up those staves that they drop in with those different recipes.
Just to add more wood surface area
But it's still not.
Well,
for flavoring.
it's just flavoring
because
basically.
it's 46 bourbon.
Yeah,
It's already been made.
yeah,
So it doesn't have to be in a new oak again when you
No.
make it.
right.
So I'm guessing it goes into a barrel that was aged in 46.
From what I remember, it doesn't go into a new barrel. They just introduce
The
new
new
The
staves.
staves
to
to
that.
give it that flavor. Because I
Right.
wouldn't want to. I wouldn't think you would mess with the 46 recipe.
Right.
You're just adding
They-
to it.
Exactly. So
Okay.
at that point, so you got your 46. They can either bottle it at that point, or they can continue with going into
Adding
private
staves.
selects,
Okay.
and be it whether that's it doesn't meet the profile they want. Okay, let's throw in these staves and do whatever.
And I'll tell people if you haven't had the private select, I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I've had a couple different ones,
And they're
I'm-
readily
I'm
available
impressed.
generally.
Yeah.
They're a bit pricey. They're about 70-ish bucks here.
Here's just a little nugget for you. I think they changed the label recently where now the staves are listed on the front.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at what the staves are. And it used to be they were on the back, and I learned to look on the back because some big stores have their private select, and multiple times I've looked at the back to see what staves they've used. 10.
46.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's just 46
So
bourbon
that's
then.
what that's called is Bill Samuels cask.
Okay.
That's like so. Specs has their initial one that they did, and it was 100% 46 staves, and then they called it Bill Samuels cask.
Well, they needed to do something like that on the label because it just looks like a regular label. And I went,
Yeah.
I'm not interested. It's just 46. But I want something that's going to change. Give me some mocha, give me some French, give me some different stuff in here. It's going to make it, kind of unique and different. And
Yep.
so, anyway, you think it's worth getting one that has 10 and a 46 because it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah, so it's nice to have that and then compare to. Right.
Some of the flavored ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that way you start to learn.
But
okay,
compared to 46, it's going to be different still.
it's cast strength.
Right.
Versus, proof down from your just regular 46. So that's the difference.
What's the proof on 46?
I want to say it's upper 90s.
So it's not that much different.
It's 110.
Okay. For me, I'm going, that's not a lot of difference in that.
I mean, yeah, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not like going from 80 to 110,
Yeah.
but it's enough of a proof change. I think from what I remember reading, our palates can only really tell, like the granularity is maybe 3 or 4 proof points to tell the difference.
It can, that's small.
Well, what I'm saying is that it has to be bigger than that
To tell a
to
difference.
tell a difference. Drinking experience flavors, if they were all constant and you were just looking at proof, it has to be at least 3 to 5 points
Difference.
to tell a difference.
Okay. Which makes sense. So if you get to that point where you're telling a difference, now you're only 5 to 6 different. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm picking
But
here
if we're
a little
going-
bit, but
Yeah,
to me, I think for an experienced whiskey drinker, that's not a huge jump.
no, it's not, but
Yeah.
it's a noticeable change.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because like we said earlier, when we did the side by sides with the Blanton's single barrel and the Blanton's Gold, Blanton's single barrel at 93, and the Gold around 101 to 103, it was a noticeable difference.
It was.
Those 8 to 10 proof points were noticeable enough on your tongue to. I mean,
Okay.
all 3 of us that did the blind instantly picked out the Gold as being the Gold.
Okay, because that's more of a rye mash bill. Because it's got, I think, 12% rye in the Blantons, something like that.
It's mash bill 1,
It's- yeah,
right?
Mash
Two.
bill one.
2, I'm sorry.
Mash bill 2.
Oh, 2, in with Rock
Yeah.
Hill Farm, yes. Yes, in Elmer T. Lee. Correct.
Yeah, so I think it's 13% rye,
Right,
12 barley, and then the rest corn.
corn, right.
But then there's the barrel.
That's good, though.
Yeah, for what I'm saying is
Okay, let me ask you this. Price point.
$40 on the high end.
Wow.
A lot of times I see it for 37.
Bought a bottle on the way over here today for $35.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a nice little whiskey. That's
That is really good.
I mean, when you start talking about value,
Oh, it's hard to beat.
Yeah,
that's a good value.
Very
right
hard
there.
to beat.
and I can't, like I said, I've walked by this hundreds of times and said, no, it's Maker's product.
It's because we're whiskey snobs like we're wine snobs.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, it really is.
If you're looking at the regular makers, it's good for what it is,
Right.
but it's not going to amaze, like blow you away at all. The cast strength, brings it up to 11,
Yes.
where the private selects are it's the same thing with the 46 line, where it just bumps it up to 11,
Right.
and
And- And I just think that the availability that adds into the bourbon experience these days is when you walk by a shelf and it's got 40 bottles of red wax Makers on, you're like,
Nah.
nobody wants that.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that.
You think gimmick with the
Right.
wax.
people just overlook it.
Yep.
I think it's definitely worth a try.
I would agree.
Well, thank you, because now I've had a try, and it's definitely worth $40. I mean,
that's-
all day
Well, I
long.
think if you go to a lot of bars, first thing you see out there, you got the Makers, the Crown, the
That's
what.
always in the well, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's a.
So
Makers and Coke.
So
Yeah.
you're like, I had that.
And the other thing for me is if I'm going to buy a bourbon at a bar, it's not going to be
It's
Makers.
not going to be Makers. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what's unique
what
or
I'm saying.
different that they
Exactly.
have. Yeah.
Right.
But that is wow. I mean, I was actually shocked.
Yep. For
I think
30
to your point, Joe, earlier, it's a mixer.
Yep.
Most people think
Yeah,
of
for most
makers
people.
as
Yeah.
a mixer.
But for $35, I was surprised because as we were talking about earlier, I have seen it priced anywhere from $34 up to $55 for the cask strength.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is they've for so long have only had one product. You know, they've only had the standard makers. And it was only maybe 5 years ago
Oh, is that what it was? That's soon.
that 46 came out, and just recently the cast strength came out, and then the private selects aren't that old either. They're maybe 2-3 years old.
Yeah, I knew the private selects were recent. I didn't realize the other lines were only 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and so I think they have a bit of a marketing hurdle to overcome, where a lot of what we call ourselves bourbon aficionados that like maybe more higher end stuff just overlook. Oh, it's red wax. Yeah, I'm okay.
Right.
But it really deserves a try, and especially the private selects.
Yeah, and I think the private select, the more people that try that and go, wow, this is really good, might make them go, well, maybe I need to try their caster.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to give it another shot.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and at the price point, it's seriously
Yeah,
it's hard to beat. And
Pleasantly surprised.
for a weeder,
Yeah.
like it's one of the only wheat cast strengths that you can readily find.
Yep.
wow. It's good. And for that price, it's great.
Yeah, and that was the whole impetus really of this podcast was, okay, Weller Full Proof is almost impossible to find, or you're paying an amazing amount of money on secondary to find it. Let's try to find 2 other substitutions, not so much such like something comparable to it that is more available. And while Makers is on the shelf all day, every day, Larceny, which is going to be our other comparison, it's a little harder to find. It 3 times a year they release it, just like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, but it's not impossible to find, and it's a decent price point.
Is that, Elijah Craig barrel proof is always $60.
Yeah,
Is Larceny about the same?
I want to say
49.
yeah, it was about $50.
Okay, that's a good price.
So I mean, it's $10 more than
I've heard great things about it.
Well,
I've never had it, but I've heard
we'll have
great
it in a
things.
second.
Yeah, we will.
We're on our way.
Yeah, and so I would say
Damn it.
Missed the cue.
I would say we go to Larceny next, and then jump back to Weller and side by side 'em. What do
Okay.
you guys think?
Sure. How much?
So Larceny next?
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Favorite bourbon. That's what we would call a shelf hero that you can drink every day, that when you go to the liquor store, you go to Total Wine Respects, you need a bottle, it's there on the shelf for you.
I think that 1910 was, but
That's a good one from Old Forester.
yeah, I mean, Dave kind of, we were looking at different ones, I remember, and I got a bottle of that, tried it, and then, of course, I had something different. I think one night I tried that, and I tried something different, and I just kept going back to that 1910, and it was just something that just stuck with me. It's reasonably priced most of the time. Every now and then I see it a little
It's
crazy,
one of my favorites.
but I would have to say that one.
Yeah, 93 proof, nice little drinker. I mean, it's
Yep.
one of my favorites.
Yep.
All right, Dave, you? We're having a little chit chat while we kind of nose and kind of work this.
Now, can I say, as far as if you want something that's kind of like a sleeper for me, like if you can't get Blanton's, that single barrel Evan Williams.
I've heard that,
that
but I
one?
haven't found it yet.
Really,
Is it everywhere?
Yeah.
Pretty
It's
easy to find.
Okay.
On the shelf at Total Wine in Sugarland.
I've looked at a couple places, but that is my Sancho, but I'm not going to answer.
The only problem, it's lower proof than I would like it to be at,
It
and
is.
that's the only problem. It's delicious, but
You can easily though, because it's only like $29, $28. So if you get some people that are not in your house that are not monster, bourbon drinkers, if you put a little bit of ice or something for them, it's something that kind of more
Yeah.
introductory.
so to that point, I would say Jim Beam single barrel.
That's the one I'm thinking of that's hard to find.
It's
It's harder.
harder to
Didn't you find a
find.
bottle of that?
It's newer, like
Yeah, it
the
just
new
came out.
release. Well, it's been out for. Well, they have a new release that's at 107 proof.
Okay.
and it's delicious.
I know Dave.
It's
Dave
30
said something to me.
$32.
It's got the little gold tag on it. This year's, at least I saw it the other day. I thought not
Yeah, it does.
online. I didn't see it at a
Yeah.
store. I'd have bought it. But
Yeah.
and what'd you say?
About my
Go-to.
everyday go-to? Well, just recently I have bought into the Wild Turkey 101.
Okay, which I think is fantastic. I got
And,
turned on to that again.
I recently bought a handle of the Wild Turkey 101 and
A handle.
a handle.
Still cost you less than $40 probably.
Yeah.
I think it, yeah, was in the same as the handle of Special Reserve.
Yeah,
Somewhere around
38
30,
bucks.
35 to 30.
Wild Turkey's been around a long time too,
Yeah.
as well. Correct.
Yep. But the 101, I've recently in the past couple weeks been putting it up against the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond and several in that same proof point. And for me, the Wild Turkey 101 is way more complex.
Yeah.
Do you like it better than the rare breed?
No. We're gonna,
Yeah.
we're gonna get into cask strength.
Yeah.
Rare breed is definitely one of my favorites. So, but
What about you, Rob?
So I have two that I would say are my go-to that I've discovered, and one's in the Wild Turkey family. You said rare breed. That's for me. I got turned on to that probably.
It was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months ago. And I went, okay, I always thought Wild Turkey, same as
Right.
101. That's back in college. That's when you drink
Exactly.
that,
Yeah, that's when you're doing shots of it.
You drink that for effect, not for taste.
Correct.
But I found out I was wrong. It's really phenomenal.
Yep.
The other one I really like that's really inexpensive that I've been finding on a regular basis is the Old Granddad 114.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I forgot to mention that one. So before I went through about 3 or 4 bottles of Old Granddad 114 and then said, I'm going to buy that Wild Turkey 101 just to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on the OGD 114.
That's a great
It is.
drinker. I
And
mean,
it is basically a cask strength Basil Hayden. It's a high rye
Yeah.
yep,
coming in at 114.
that's what I've heard, and it's half the price.
Correct.
Yeah,
And way better.
And way better.
and
Yes.
way better.
This is not 80 proof.
Yeah.
Does it have more of that? I don't think I've tried that one. Does it have more of that cinnamon?
Yes.
Every time I hear Basil Hayden, I think cinnamon. That's
Yeah.
It,
I don't get a lot of cinnamon on it.
It's got some bacon
associate that with
spices.
spice, yes.
Right,
yeah.
The bacon spice
for me.
Yes.
And at $19, I mean,
Yeah, that or the bonded, both are delicious.
and I have yet to buy a bottle of the bonded.
It's a lot harder to find in our area.
Yeah.
You talking about the bottled and bond?
The
Yeah,
Old Granddad.
Yeah, at the smaller boutique.
Dandy has it all day long, $21.
Yeah.
Okay, and yes, I was going to say at First Choice.
First Choice has it
on
too.
99
Yeah.
has it.
But it might be 30 there.
It's 26.
No, it's-
Okay, 26. Yeah. Everything's cheaper at Dandy.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's a longer drive for me though.
Twin liquor.
At 99 and 69.
I'm
Okay.
in oil and gas. Please drive everywhere.
We're giving all kinds of free advertising.
That's
today.
right. And back to Longhorn Liquor.
We'll see if any of these owners listen to the show. I'm gonna say they don't.
Okay, so this one initially smelled as like a vanilla, but then
I get the vanilla a lot.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the end though, it's kind of draws out a little for me.
To me, the ethanol's just hanging around a lot. I can't leave my nose in as long as
That's
I do
what
on
I mean.
the other.
It's kind of
Yeah.
hangs on the back.
Well,
of
it
my
is
throat.
coming in at almost 125 proof, so
Hangs on the back. Pretty good.
yeah.
What do you call it, Dave? Kentucky Burn?
Kentucky Hug.
Oh, hug. There you go.
You definitely get that slow burn down your esophagus
That's what she said.
I knew that was coming.
when you leave the door open.
You walk through.
Oh,
All right. So everybody likes this one.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I really like it on the palate.
Yeah, it's a lot more complex. I think it has a lot more oak tannins, some leather, but it has nice sweetness, but not overly sweet.
Yep.
I think it's just really well balanced, even for at the proof that it's at compared to these others that we've had.
I would think you would have to say that a lot of people there's kind of some that are like two ways on their palates. It's they don't like the heat on some, and some are more on the mild, of course. And
This is not going to be for them.
exactly, and so that's what I'm leading up to. Is like, so this one's a little more for me, like the, Elijah Craig Bourbon Proof. This, but if you like that heat, a little bit of that at the end, is the way I describe it.
I just think
It goes smooth for me first with the vanilla and then it's got that kind of
Yeah.
good taste at the end.
to me, it's back in line with what we've had with the weeded bourbons, which is that full-bodied kind of.
Yeah.
And with this one, I get more of the oil on there.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good
It's
word.
just really
That's a good word.
a little more what?
Mouthfeel.
That's what she said.
Thank you, Lynn. It's. I find it curious how different for a weeded bourbon the Makers is compared to the Wellers and this one now.
Yeah.
I mean, this one falls in line with the Wellers. It's kind of in that same flavor profile, that same kind of profile in general, where that Makers really stood out as just being unique and different on its own.
So Makers is a lot higher percentage of wheat, and it's a different type of wheat, from what I know or what I
Do you
understand.
know what the percentage of wheat is?
On Makers, I want to say it's closer to 25% or even up to 30. I think it's a very
really?
low
Okay.
low corn. It's not closer up to like 70%. I think it's more 60, 55, somewhere in there.
I think sometimes on the higher heat, this is me, sometimes when you go to let it go down your throat, some of
That's
that
what she said.
and sometimes it heats up into your nose. Have y'all?
That's what she said.
Have y'all? You hear that with that's what sometimes with me when the higher heat stuff just
Yeah, it's sort of a retronasal. As
Whereas the other one's just kind of right on.
It's like the door won't close.
it's a revolving door.
It is.
I'm gonna wear that button out.
Just gotta change it over to the other button. This is really good. I've never had the Larceny Barrel Proof. Never had a Larceny for that matter. I think their standard is a lot. It reminds me a lot of the Elijah Craigs. I think their standard is 94, just like Elijah
It is.
Craig.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get these barrel proofs, and they is it the same distillery?
Yes.
Yes,
It's all
Heaven
Heaven
Hill.
Hill.
So it's Elijah Craig.
It is.
It is.
But it's their weeded line,
Right. Not the rye.
Okay, I like it.
which is also Old Fitz.
Oh,
Yeah, there you
okay.
go. There's
So the old Fitz
Old
is the
reference.
weeded, they're bottled in bond, weeded.
Right.
Gotcha.
That might be a slightly different mash bill.
that was bought by Heaven Hill, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really good.
But
Yeah.
I do taste definite similarities between
Well, you get the-
Elijah Craig.
Yeah, you
barrel
get the
proof.
same nuttiness,
Yes.
the
That's
sort
what
of
I was
funky.
trying to say.
Yep.
that
That's
you
what it was
get,
reminding me of.
yeah, you get that Heaven Hill profile out of it, but with the wheat.
Right.
It's really good.
I think that's why initially I'm thinking vanilla when I first tasted it. It smelled.
Are these barrel proofs harder to find in Houston than the Elijah Craig barrel proofs?
They're
They're
about the same.
they're,
Are
yeah,
they?
they're comparable.
Because I've never. How long has this been out?
This is the first release.
This is the first
Oh, okay,
release.
okay. That
So-
answers
so
a lot.
they
'Cause I'm
just
like, I've
do-
never even heard of it, never even seen it, because
Yeah.
I've been doing since 2017.
And since COVID, we really got short-ended on
Okay,
on
right.
bottles here. So
that answers a lot, because I'm like, wait a second, I've
Right.
never even
Yeah.
heard of it.
But just like the Elijah Craig barrel proof has 3 releases a year.
Yeah, A, B, and C.
A, B, and C.
One being
January,
Jan-
May, and September. So,
And then the year.
yep, in the year. So the Larceny is also an allocated bourbon.
A, B, and C?
yep,
A, B,
it's
and C,
exactly the same.
120, 5 120, and
Nine.
C, and 9 120.
Nine,
Nine.
one?
920.
920, sorry.
Oh,
A,
yeah.
A 120, B 520, C
220.
920. There we go.
220, 221, whatever.
Whatever
takes.
it takes.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers that, because I was going, why haven't I heard of the barrel proof before?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it
Yeah,
just
so we
came
should
out.
be seeing the next one come out the next
I
couple
haven't
months.
seen this one yet, and I'd like a bottle.
That's what I'm saying. The release was so few numbers for our area that it was
Finding one's going to be
really hard.
tough.
It was really hard to find. Hopefully, we will see more in our area for this next release.
Oh, let's hope so.
Now you said you're going on a tour up in October. Is that
Yeah, I'm definitely going to.
Are they
well,
open now because of?
They are, but we'll see. Yeah.
You can pull that closer to your mouth if you want.
That's what she said.
It's that big black thing.
That's what she said.
This episode's not for kids.
No.
Yeah, I went hunting in Kentucky years ago, and
Bourbon hunting or hunting?
no deer. I went whitetail deer hunting. I got to go out to a farm and drove all the way there and driving by makers and all these places, and I'm like shedding tears. Like, can we just stop? You know. It's just,
Yeah, the Makers it's an amazing facility there.
I wish I could
It's so beautiful.
kick myself for that.
You're really sipping those, Glenn. Have you got some kind of strategy going? I'm kind of finishing.
Well, I'm doing ABC next. Well, that's what I'm trying.
You're doing ABC.
I'm gonna try them side by side.
Huh. You got a little sophisticated on
He's
it.
going to
should've
shoot
told
them
me.
side by side.
Okay, who has had Lone Elm here?
I have.
Not I.
You have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have not.
So that's 100% wheat whiskey. So obviously not a bourbon, but a wheat whiskey. And I thought since we were on this wheated theme today, it might be fun as we finish up just to pour everybody a little bit of that and see what you guys think.
Yeah. That's
I liked it. I was a little surprised that I liked it as much as I did. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, pretty unique.
Because that's the thing that I've been seeing most recently in comments about the Texas whiskey scene or bourbon scene, is that Texas does not do bourbons well at all.
Well, isn't that because of the climate though? Ours has a little bit.
Well, it's mostly because the Texas bourbon scene is young, so they don't have aged distillate, and
We can't age it that long,
because
and that's
of
the problem.
heat. Correct.
Yeah, the
because
heat.
of the heat, but that that Texas does a really good whiskey line, whether it's the single malts like Balcones or
Whitmeyer's is a great single malt.
Correct, but that Texas just does not
Yeah.
do.
So I wouldn't say it's
bourbon
it's not great. It's different.
well. Right,
So we have our own profile here.
right.
It's completely
I kind
different.
of look at it
It's the
like
same way as the wine industry.
that's exactly what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
Yep,
They went when they first started wines here. Everybody was doing let's do Cab Merlot.
correct. And they were buying their grapes from California.
Yeah, and what they were trying to grow was still Cab Merlot.
Correct.
And it's
It
like,
just
wait a second,
would
that
not-
doesn't grow here as well as
Right.
Tempranillo and some.
Right.
So they kind of found their identity, and then now, to me, Texas wines have gotten a lot better in the last 2 or 3 years
Yes,
versus the first 10 years. That they
agreed.
were. I think whiskeys is kind of still in that area of trying to figure out what's our identity. Who are we really need to be bourbon people, or can we be Texas whiskey people and,
Right.
and make some really cool whiskeys? But
Right.
I know Dave and I, we hunted a lot in the hill country area, and we've gone to a couple of different wineries there, and it was a little hit or miss.
yeah,
And I'm not a big wine guy, but I could taste something and I was like,
Because if you're used to drinking the traditional 5 different grape varietals,
the Bordeaux.
correct, the 5 different Bordeaux varietals, and you go into these obscure grapes that will grow in
Yeah,
Texas.
Tempranillo.
Right.
To not.
Yeah.
And I love a Spanish Tempranillo, but it's not the same in
Yeah,
Texas. That
exactly.
is, you are not getting the same flavor profile. So,
Dave and I were always mesmerized about the wine, all the wine vines we'd see at some of these places. I'm just like curious to see how much
that
wine
during
they're
picking season have absolutely no grapes on them.
Well, the bigger spot for growing, farmers is over in the high plains.
Yes.
And that's because you get even as far west as getting over by El Paso,
Yep.
where you have that heat during the day.
But it's cold
Cold
at night.
nights. Cold
Yeah,
nights.
and they'll get
Yep.
it'll get down into the 50s in the evening.
Yeah.
That desert kind of climate, the grapes do well there. They don't do well over here where it's 100 during the day and then 94 at night with
Right.
still 100%
100%
humidity. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Here's
So-
a small quick plug for the town of Hye, Texas, and you spell that Hye. It is actually now has a new dance hall there. They have High Rum, they have High Cider, of course they have the Garrison Brothers place. and they have several wineries
Yeah,
around there.
High Meadow is one of my favorites
So
there.
if you ever want to make a trek and try different things, go to High Texas.
Got everything right there in the backyard.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's what, 10 minutes from Fredericksburg,
17
somewhere in there. Yeah.
10 minutes from Johnson City, 22 miles from Frederick.
Okay,
5
yeah.
miles from Stonewall.
Well, it depends how fast you drive, right?
And there's a little cool bar out there called Albert High Bar.
High Albert Bar. Yep.
Albert High,
So-
High Albert.
So Glenn and I are into beers and craft beers.
Oh, they got a beer place.
Are you guys? I knew they did over there. Are you guys into beers or not at all?
Sure.
Yep, absolutely. I'm an IPA fan.
You are.
So
You, Joe?
I'm not a big IPA guy. No, I'm
But
more
beer
of a
and craft
Pilsner.
beer?
I work for a German-owned company, so I've got to go to Europe a lot and tried all different Kolsch beers and
Okay.
and pilsners and stuff. And of course, my Czech background on my dad's side, you know, that's always I got to go to the Czech Republic. They have pretty neat stuff there. And you can spend some time going around to the different areas there.
Can you make me a kolache?
A fruit kolache, or
Yes.
you want Koblonsky, which is actually the pig in the blanket.
Well, I'm talking about a kolache with like good
sure.
fruit
You
on
want some
top.
a good poppy seed recipe. You can,
Really?
I can hook you up on that.
Do you have some recipes from the family?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yaxi
We
Mas,
don't get
okay.
true kolaches unless we always go over to Shiner and
Yeah, go to West.
yeah,
Yeah.
West has a very good.
where's West?
In between Waco and
Okay, haven't been there.
DFW. Yeah, that's
A lot of people ask me about. Oh,
That's where to go.
Where's a good kolache? And I said fruit. And no, with the sausage. No. That's
Not a kolache.
not a classic. Yeah, you'll never end that battle like it.
So the people listening, there's a difference.
What are you still sipping on, Rob?
I'm still on the 114 of the
On the Weller?
of the Weller Foolproof. Yeah,
So what are you
And that's
guys?
what I'm headed back. I just finished the.
I'm just getting back on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
finished the Larceny Barrel Proof. Now I'm headed back to the Weller Full Proof.
So what's y'all's overall thoughts so far
Of
on
these three?
Yeah, is the pain in the butt to find a Weller foolproof worth it
No.
To
No.
me, no.
versus these two that are
No.
more
Yeah, but
available?
the problem
it's,
is-
it's different. So
It's kind
these
of back
aren't,
to the
you
baseball
know,
cards.
exactly. You know, there's always if I see it, I'm gonna get it, right? But I think two readily and almost semi-available, for the Larceny. I don't know that I would put a lot of effort into finding the Weller.
I wouldn't put effort into it.
It was just if you stumbled upon it. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, out of these three, if I were going to tell you the one I enjoyed the most,
Yeah.
it would be the Larceny. But it's still not easy to find.
No.
No, it's not. But it's more
So-
than the Weller.
I really like the makers, and the price point's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's probably one I'll pick up and just keep on the
Just
bar.
have, yeah, exactly.
And
then
that's-
when you
that's
find
nice
the
to have.
others, you got them.
Yeah. Will I ever find the Weller Foolproof again? Probably not. But 107, getting back to that Weller line, is one that
I would
you
rather have that than the 114.
Yeah, me too. I don't think, I know the 14 when I posted that I got that bottle, the Weller Foolproof. I know it's tater juice, right? We all
Oh,
know
for
it's
sure.
tater juice. I still wanted to have a bottle, right? So there's nobody out there listening that's really into bourbon going, that's fantastic. It's not this blow you away juice in the bottle. It's good. It's all right. I like it. It's
It
nice.
is.
It's a fun bottle to have when people come over that are into bourbon a little bit.
Yep.
Because if you come to my house and you're not into bourbon, you don't get to drink that.
Nope.
What's a hard bottle of wine to find?
There's really not. It's
That's-
just what you want
That's
to
what I'm
pay.
trying. So that's why I asked
It
that
is.
question,
Well,
right?
It is
It
how
would
much
be
you want to pay.
like estate grown stuff that's only available from the estate. Right? Would
Sure,
be
I'm sure they have
harder to find.
their private stuff, but I'm just saying.
Well,
you know.
I mean,
That you can't find in stores.
Well, that's more for me. I'm members at a lot of places that are small producers.
Right.
That I'm members there because I can get their things
Correct.
because I'm on their club membership because they're not distributed.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would fulfill what.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. One of which I was surprised. I think I saw a post in Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard was somebody went to the soft opening of Longhorn Liquor and got a bottle of Costa Brown Pinot Noir.
Yes.
And I was on, it took me 5 years to get on of being on the list at Costa Brown to be able to purchase.
So
at
how
Costa.
pissed are you now?
So
But they only got the one. You're still 5 years in line
correct.
ahead of people.
But still, that used to be an extremely difficult bottle to find, and to see it.
That's why I think the bourbon scene. There's a lot of things that are they get pushed kind of out to the limit. Who can find it? That's kind of part of the game.
We're men, right?
Right.
We're all competitive. We all
Right.
want to be, look what I got, look what I
Right.
got.
I mean, it goes back to us playing games, right?
Yeah. Want to win.
And you want to hide and go seek almost, kind of like looking
Yeah.
for it. So.
David, what about you? Where do these line up for you?
So, of the full proof, I would have to say that my favorite is the Larceny Barrel Proof. I think it has the most character to it, depth of flavors, then the Maker's Mark cask strength, and then the Weller Full Proof.
So Weller Full Proof was third out of these three?
Was third out of these
Look
three.
at that. Look at that.
Yep. But that's
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm,
No,
I'm just,
and it's-
people listening that aren't into whiskey, tasting it and really saying, judging it for what it is, just think Weller and go, it must be better.
right. But to say that there's a loser of these three,
These are all amazing whiskeys.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There
It's
is
just the
no
lesser of.
there is no loser in these three.
It's an opinion.
That's what fits you.
Which one's the loser, Rob?
That Full Proof sucks. Somebody wants to take it home, take it
Hey,
out.
we'll just take that bottle
That's
home.
right.
We don't need it.
No, they're all
I'll
right.
take it
They're all
home
right.
and pour it down my drain. You don't have to worry about it.
That's what she said.
Is that getting old?
Not yet.
Okay.
Two more.
Maybe tiptoeing the line, but
Yeah.
you got to space them out.
I'm
enough.
walking the line.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try that other one.
Okay. Yes. So
But
to finish up, we're going to go from these wheated bourbons to a
completely weeded whiskey.
wheated whiskey.
100% wheat.
100% wheat. And I'm going to be curious to see what you guys think.
Or as Dave would say, wiki.
Wiki.
Who says that? You say wiki?
Well, at our dear lease, we had some kids come out that somehow I became known as Wiki Dave.
How?
I don't know. They didn't know what he was drinking or something.
I
so
think
we
I
just
probably
made up a name.
had too many one night, and I asked somebody to get me a wiki. And
Still don't know what a wiki is, Glenn.
Besides a wiki page, that's about all I know.
we're all drinking a bunch of wiki right now.
Are you drinking wiki? I was thinking you were toting on something. What I was gonna say.
No, we're drinking a bunch of wiki.
Short for whiskey.
Well, let's go put some New Elm, a wheated whiskey. This is a barrel pick we did. Another liquor store. Herman Key owns Liquor Tell 9. As you can see, we spread the wealth here.
Absolutely.
We don't shop in one place. But Herman Key, him, myself, Tony Marchant, and Preston Smith got with Brendan from up at Lone Elm and picked this barrel with Herman for his store. So 15-gallon barrel. So we only got 42 bottles out of it. So if you guys like it, Liquor Tell 9 over here in Katy, off over here by the mall.
By Pin Oak?
He's right by Katy Mills Mall, by the Walmart, the
Okay.
little strip center where the Subway is right there. He's right in that strip center.
And they still have some of the Lone Elm?
He just got them in yesterday,
Oh, okay.
so I went by
Great.
yesterday and picked up a bottle.
Great.
So
Perfect.
let's pour a glass, see what we think.
All right.
We are back and have some Lone Elm in our glasses. So just curious to see what you guys thought. I thought it'd be fun just to close the show out with.
Is this a store pick?
This is a barrel pick from like I said, over at Liquor Tell 9 with Herman, myself, Preston, and Tony Marchant.
My first whiff is burnt maple.
Yeah.
So like creme brulee, burnt sugar?
Something
Like a toffee,
Yeah.
like a really dark, burnt caramel.
Yep.
Something burnt.
But I mean, somebody was making a reference, I think it was you, Joe, about the dark, syrupy color. And this is 4 years in a 15-gallon barrel in the heat of Texas.
Yeah.
You know, Kentucky at least gets down to some sort of winter
And
in the winter months. They get down in the 30s and 40s, and maybe even they even get lower than that.
and what part of Texas is low now?
Forney?
Yeah,
Forney.
Forney,
Yeah.
up by Dallas.
So up by Dallas. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they actually have seasons as
Yep,
opposed to
right.
here.
They have a cool, little
More
bit
than we
cooler-
do.
They do. Well, that's what I'm saying.
We'll get
Yeah.
snow
We do.
here and there.
For Texas, we call that seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they still get snow once every few years, the rest of
They
the
get snow up there, but it's not like
Usually
shoveling
ice.
snow every day
Yeah,
on your
It's usually
driveway.
ice though, not snow.
But so thoughts on the nose?
But I'm
It's
with the
super
group.
complex
Yep.
Yeah,
to me.
that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, like very
There's a lot going on.
tobacco, oak, leather, some
Fruit.
some fruit, some like a fruit compote, some darker sugars.
I hate to say it though, but I tasted a little bit. As my
And some
grandma
oaky.
used to pick a lot of pecans, and sometimes I'd take a pecan and put one in my mouth, crack it, you know.
And it was
kind
a little
of
rancid.
at first a little bitter.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's a little bit of that taste, but then it kind of smoothed out a little.
Yeah, the proof sort of hits you first a little bit,
Yep.
and then it sort of wraps around the side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
And-
hits and then comes on.
Yeah, it kind of spreads the sweetness, and then there's it sort of follows with the little oak tannin, like sort of drying as it goes towards the back of your palate.
That's it.
I definitely get pecan shell.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
it tastes like I just bit one of those pecans as
Yep.
a kid.
I
It's
definitely
it's got that oiliness.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Of-
the woody
Yeah,
taste.
You know, sometimes you drink a Merlot is what sometimes gives me that, where it's like you said, it just kind of goes to your
Around
side of
the
your
sides.
tongue.
Yeah.
You know.
But you're right, Glenn. A lot of complexity here. A lot going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a simple bourbon or
No.
a simple whiskey. No, it's not a bourbon.
Have y'all tried Iron Root?
yeah.
Have not. That's 100% corn.
Corn.
I
That
thought
is
I
corn.
brought you
Harbinger.
one last time. Yeah, Harbinger.
I've been looking for the Harbinger barrel proof.
Yeah, Total Wine had it for a while. They have Hubris now, and I think Promethean.
Promethean.
Did you give me a sample?
I think we had one. I think we poured it.
Oh, we did. Was that with Edmund?
Yeah.
We had lunch here.
Yeah, but I think they.
I do remember that now. That's good stuff.
So that's kind of the same.
So that's 100% corn, and what they do is they change out 5% of the corn to a or 5% of the mash bill
Heirloom.
to heirloom corn, and they do all kinds of different ones.
I
But
have
like Bloody Butcher
Right.
is like one of the ones that they use a lot,
Yep.
and it's some good stuff. They won like Whiskey of the Year last year.
Yeah.
I read that one in Texas Monthly. So that was one of the ones I think we were stopping at on the way to the Dearleys.
Yeah, it's up
Looking
in
for
Dennis, Texas, I think.
Dennis.
Yeah, that's north of Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was able to find some finally. And cool bottle.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the Harbinger, the barrel proof used to be bottled in the bottle that Promethean is in.
yeah. That's
But now I think they've gone back to the
that flat kind of
Flat.
yeah.
With the R kind of
right.
coming out.
But now I think they've gone back to the tall, slender bottle for the Harbinger.
Yeah, they did.
proof.
I can't remember. I've tried a couple of them, but this one has a little bit of that same smell to it.
This is unique that it's hot on the front of the palate. I mean, the tip of your tongue, when you just pour it, it just gets hot. For me,
Yeah, it tingles.
right there on the front of the palate. And it's drinking a lot hotter than the 117,
Yes,
in my opinion.
I agree. On the nose, I don't get a whole lot of ethanol burn, but on the palate,
It is.
front of the tongue, you definitely get
Yeah.
the ethanol. Glenn?
Yeah, I think until you get to about the third sip,
I agree. It's,
Yeah.
and
it's,
it sort of dies down.
Yeah.
But the first sip was definitely front tongue tingly, and the same on the second. And it's super oily. Like if you roll it around, It's just crazy oily.
But I like this. It's different. It's
No, I agree.
unique. It's not the same as your typical
Right.
bourbon.
If you're giving this to somebody and trying to tell them that this is bourbon,
Yeah.
they're going to say, this is terrible.
Well, it's just like some people, like you go back to beer drinking, some people like IPAs, they like that.
Pilsners, ales, porters. Yeah.
But, I've drank beer with some guys that, man, they just love Guinness.
Stout.
Something
Love a stout. Yeah.
So this kind of reminds me a little bit of like a different stout type.
Yeah.
Thing,
That's a good way to put it. I think this is that, darker in color, a little bit more body to it, a lot of oil in there, so it gives you that full body.
Right.
Mouthfeel.
If you hand somebody a Goose Island Bourbon County Stout and say this is beer,
Yeah.
they're going to say
No,
that
it
is not
Yeah.
beer.
This is like an ice bock.
Icebox. There you go.
It's so we were talking about ice wine earlier.
Mhm.
It's the same process, but with the bock.
Yeah.
So you get a high concentration of sugars, like sweet and just rich. Because
Yep.
bock is what during Advent the monks used to. That's all they drank. That's all they could have was beer, and that was their food for the day. So they would
Just
have,
so the listeners know, Glenn is not reading from a phone. Full of knowledge.
This is
the actual worldly stuff is not in here. It's all
this is
beer
the
and alcohol.
There you
Jeopardy
go.
knowledge.
You
This
sure you
is-
didn't get that from Vikings?
Yeah. But this, to me, this is what it reminds me of. I've made a few ice box,
Yeah.
and it's just chewy. You get that caramel, really rich, but
The
in
nose has gotten
a
better.
whiskey
But
form.
I've got a finish going on for minutes.
It makes you salivate.
Yes.
Like
it's
on
like
the on the side of your, like the back of your.
It's like a high tannin cab.
Yeah.
That just really hits you back in the
Yeah.
back corners.
Right, so speaking of bottles and Bach, when it first came out, I saw it on the shelf. It was empty, but that Balcones came out with that Bach.
The Texas Bach.
Bach.
Yeah, I have
I've been
one.
able to find, you found one?
And so that's gonna be a once yearly, I think, release.
I got one if you want to try it.
I have had it. I have had.
Have you?
I love
I
it.
just think the bottle is cool because
And
it's
Again, unique, different.
Yeah.
right, it is.
Have it, conversation, whatever, fun
It's
to
not
try.
bourbon.
It's not bourbon.
Have you had it?
I have not even poured it yet.
You need to.
Kidding.
Somebody, I don't even know
It's-
who came to my
it's
house,
comparable-
opened it, and poured
Yes.
It's comparable to this.
I would.
it. Is it really?
Yes.
Yes.
so,
Taste.
it had the same profile.
Because now I'm starting to get a little Cheerios smell up front.
I was getting that earlier. I thought it was just me.
Nope.
I will say, the longer this sits in the glass, the better it gets.
Yeah.
My recommendation for the Lone Elm would be, pour it in the glass, let it sit for
Forget
15
about
minutes.
it for a bit.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes, and then come back to it. Because once it opens up, this is really, I'm enjoying this a lot more now.
I agree.
Is this more your late nightcap kind of thing?
As sweet as it is, it could be.
I'm not sure you want to start with it before going
Yeah,
into
that's what I
bourbon.
mean.
No.
Exactly. You don't want to start. This is a good finisher.
But it's fun. It's a fun little bourbon to drink. I'm not sure, what who their target is with
Right.
with this kind of whiskey, because bourbon guys are bourbon guys, Scotch guys are Scotch guys. I'm not sure who they're.
I think it's just because it's so different.
Yeah.
There's not. I can't think of another whiskey that I have tried that is anywhere close to this.
No.
As far as the profile goes.
That's a risk because you're counting on people being open to different,
Yes.
and
But-
so many people don't like change.
But I think enough of us that are avid whiskey drinkers,
Yeah.
we want something, and that's what we go hunting for is different stuff.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
But if
So-
if you are hunting for a bourbon, this isn't it.
No, totally not it.
But if you want something different,
Right.
well, for instance, like let's say you're barbecuing.
Yep.
What do you think this would go good with right here? Since we're talking, this is a food podcast.
Absolutely.
I just think
See, to me, I just think of like ribs.
something high fat.
Yeah.
I think the other way around.
Or
Really?
Oh, really?
I think
Something
because
really
it's
lean?
so
Oily.
thick that
That's what I was
you
thinking.
need something lighter, like smoked turkey or smoked chicken,
I was thinking chicken.
something like that.
Just
Where
like
the
ribs for me.
so I think the other way around, when you have something maybe a little lighter, still maybe high proof, but like not as thick as this is,
Yeah.
for something like really, barbecue, like really like barbecue chicken or ribs or something that's high fat or a lot of sauce on it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
To,
like
to
ribs.
cut that, that's why like an IPA works well with a lot of barbecue, and like the thick syrupy sauces or
Just the
high
hoppiness
fat.
cuts through it.
Yeah, so the hops act bitter, they're bitter, so they help like kind of wipe off your tongue, so to
Okay.
speak. So it
Yes.
like cleanses your palate.
So we're talking two different types of barbecue because I don't
Yeah.
use any sauce, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
so it's just meat and fat.
Because when
Right.
I cook it, if I cooked it wrong, put sauce on it. If I cooked it right,
Correct, and that's why I was saying.
Well, so,
Same
like
with
if you
steaks.
grill some barbecue chicken, like you grill chicken and then put some barbecue sauce on it.
no.
no,
No,
I want the smoke flavor, the wood
Right.
flavor.
so
Glenn,
that's what I
your
said. I
face.
said grilled versus smoked.
The look on Glenn's face, like,
Oh,
yeah.
grilled it. I
Yeah,
don't,
like a grilled, like you grill it and then put some
I
barbecue.
still
sauce
do
on
like
it.
just a dry
Caramelize it.
rub, I guess is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not a big sauce guy.
Okay. Well, to each
But
their own.
again, yeah, that's exactly
He's
right.
like Franklin's barbecue over here. He don't sauce and stuff, but he
Yeah.
does.
but I would because I was thinking definitely.
Now ribs, I do. I sauce
Definitely
them
a-
before I cook them.
Okay, to get a caramelized glaze
Well,
on the ribs. But
Yeah, and you know what my trick is?
Uh
Welch's grape jelly.
oh, really?
Yikes!
Dry rub.
Yikes!
Let them sit all night. Dry rub in vinegar bath, and then
That's not, are you from Texas?
I spray apple
Nope.
juice.
Okay.
apple juice works on pork.
Apple juice. Yes.
Yeah, but don't knock it till you eat my ribs.
I'll wait. I'll wait for that.
That's right.
And free ribs are hard
Wait,
to
you know
knock.
what? You know what? We're gonna have to have a contest, Dave. And
Yeah,
him.
because when we were talking about the lone elm, I was thinking a plate of beef ribs, not pork.
Okay, okay.
No sauce, just a salt and pepper rub on them.
This would go good.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
fat content of the rib would match the oiliness of this
Yeah.
of the lone elm.
So when with pairings, you can go two ways. You can
Opposites.
you can complement or you
Right.
can contrast.
Right.
So to what you were saying, yeah, this would probably complement very well.
Correct. Yeah.
And I was more so on the opposite side,
Going opposite.
contrast.
Right. Right. It's like
So here's a show I want to do. I don't know how to pair whiskey with food. I've never even thought about. My rule is not even a rule; it's just kind of a habit. Is when I'm cooking and prepping and
whiskey
get-
before.
I'm
wine
cooking,
with.
and once I get my meal, I'm going to wine. But
Right.
people have told me, there's some really good whiskeys that you can have with meals, and I went, I never even would have
Right.
thought that. I'm a wine guy.
Right. Because you and I have been
Yeah.
conditioned to pair your wine with your food.
But I'm open. I would love to learn and see if you can show me how either the whiskey or the food is enhanced,
Compliments.
or both are enhanced by each other.
We
I think you guys need to make some ribs one time for a show, and then bring out some whiskey.
We'll make that the YouTube cooking show.
Let's
There you
do it.
go.
Doing some ribs,
There you go.
and then we'll do a little sit down
I'm
dinner.
really intrigued by this jelly.
Yeah, well, again, I've been doing it for a long time, and I've had a lot of people go, "Okay, your ribs are so good. Something different. What is it?" And now I'm telling everybody, Welch's grape jelly. I mean, I just smother them in Welch's. I mean, right? It's just the sugar.
Hey, because
It's
I've recently, with my pork ribs, gotten into a chipotle honey glaze.
It's pork ribs. I don't do that on a beef rib.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Same concept.
Yeah.
But with the chipotle, you.
Pork and sweet. I mean, goes together good.
Yep.
So now my wife can make these really, really good, like shrimp and grits.
There's another battle
What do you-
for us.
Where do you pair? What do you pair with that?
Wine.
And what I tell you, what you don't pair with that is any
Cognac.
Czech beers, pilsners, blonde beers, out.
Yeah.
Anything that has corn in it, out.
Because of the grits.
No, so that's part of the complementary thing. If you have complementary ingredients, so corn in beer is Like you get, it's dimethyl sulfide. It's a really bad flavor. Like it's like buttered popcorn, like that sort of cream corn flavor. It's definitely, it's a no-no. But if you have something that you try to pair with it that has sort of that flavor, it's not good.
So what
at
would
all.
you suggest on anything shrimp? I guess. What's a good thing?
What's
What's a
White wine, citrus.
white wines, of course.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm
white
not a big
wine-
white wine guy, so where I go
Same.
for that is I'm going to go to Burgundy with a Pinot.
or I would do pale ale
Yeah,
or
I was going to
IPA.
say when you said Burgundy, I'm thinking a little heavier, but yes,
Pale
definitely
ale.
with your poultry and your seafood, the Pinot Noir.
Or spice.
Yes.
If you do something, Asian food and Pinots are great.
Yep.
So maybe a spicy bourbon. Fit.
No,
Like
I'd
a
go
high
the-
rye bourbon is what you're
Yeah.
thinking?
I'd go the
Yeah.
opposite. I think I'd go with a weeder, what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Today.
Really?
Add a little sweetness in.
So I think we need to do a night where we do, because I like to do some dinner nights and we just all share. But maybe we need to theme it to some food and drink and just kind of
Yeah.
go through. That might be fun.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, guys, man, I appreciate you guys coming on today and hanging out a little bit and chit-chatting and drinking through some weeded whiskeys.
That was fun.
As usual, I learn a little something.
Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Yeah.
this was most fun.
Anything that stood out to you? Nothing really surprised you?
Well, the makers.
a lot
surprised
stood
me.
out and a lot surprised me. So
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised that I didn't like the Weller Foolproof as much as I thought I would.
Yeah,
I had a little more-
comparatively.
I would agree that compared to the makers and the larceny, surprising.
I had a little more hope for it. Just it's that expectation thing, right?
Right.
You kind of build yourself up.
And if you were to drink it by itself, I think you might have a different experience. But pairing it,
Yeah.
Happy hunting, guys.
Happy hunting. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming on again. Thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.
Cheers.
cheers.